Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Some Like It Real. I'm Bryan.
And I'm Veronica.
And we're two cinephiles who love to talk movies.
We have weekly episodes discussing the newest films, creating lists and drafts, and keeping you updated on the latest movie headlines and awards races.
As a reminder, please like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms, which helps more people find the show.
And share it with any cinephiles in your life.
Our episode today is for the horror heads, as we have reviews of two new gnarly movies that are out in theaters this weekend.
Yes, this episode is not for the faint of heart, but both films are great to see in a packed theater if you don't mind a little bit of blood.
More like a lot of blood.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, today's is all about Obsession and Is God Is. But before we get into those, let's play some catch up. So, Bryan, the Cannes Film Festival is happening right now as we speak, and some first reactions are out for the major titles that we've been anticipating, including Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, All of a Sudden, Club Kid, Fatherland. What about the Cannes reactions is kind of getting you most excited? What movie is upping your hype as we speak?
So when Cannes started a few days ago, the title that I was most excited to hear about was Camp. Is it Miasma or Miasma?
Miasma, I think.
Miasma.
Miasma?
That was the one I was most excited for because that's easily my most anticipated for the rest of the year. But over the last few days, this film Club Kid made its premiere, and now that's like towards the top of my most anticipated. I was reading more about it. It's a coming of age queer story set in New York. It's a dramedy, veins of Sean Baker, which is kind of fitting because one of the producers on the film was one of the producers of Anora, so that all makes sense and everything. Fatherland sounds really, really great. It's Paul Pawlikowski's new film after Cold War and Ida. Sandra Hüller's in it. This is obviously not the first of many Sandra Hüller films this year. All of a Sudden, which is Rizuke Hamaguchi's new film. Very excited to see that. There's been a lot of really positive reception out of Cannes, but I feel like since there's so much more to come, we're just getting the start of really exciting films that surely could be major awards contenders that we talk about at the end of the year. Today, as we're recording, Sheep in the Box, which is Koreeda's new film, that's premiering. Paper Tiger from James Gray, that's also premiering today. So very much anticipating reactions for that. But yeah, so far I'm really enticed by a lot of the titles that made their premiere at Cannes. And there's some other films that we haven't written down on here. But what about you? What is your takeaway from these Cannes reactions thus far?
Yeah, it seems to be like fairly positive so far. All of these big anticipated ones, I think, are making a pretty good splash. I think that it kind of seems like Club Kid is the surprise so far of the festival, like something that not a lot of people were really anticipating loving, but was really impressed a lot of people. This is by Jordan Firstman, who I watch him on I Love LA is the Rachel Sennett show that came out earlier this year, and so he's on that. I saw him do a Q&A last year for with the guys from Splitsville, and he's like I'd say he's like a strong personality, and he's got like I'm curious to see like how that filters through like a feature film and everything, and it's probably for the people who are like on his wavelength, it's probably gonna like really hit. So that's really interesting to me. Fatherland, absolutely. Sandra Hüller, Hive, we're eating good this year. Can't wait for that. And all of a sudden with Hamaguchi, that's I really, everyone loved Drive My Car. That got all the awards buzz that year and everything. I really liked Evil Does Not Exist that came out since then. I think that was a 2023 movie. I've definitely been on his wavelength since then, and yeah, I'm excited to see that too. And Teenage Sex and Death as well.
Yeah, and then there's other films. There's an animated film called Tangles, I believe, that made its premiere at Cannes, and it has Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Bryan Cranston, Seth Rogen. It's an animated film that deals with Alzheimer's, and it sounds very heavy.
The Sheep Detectives reunion with Julia and Bryan there.
Yes, that was the main. That's how it's going to be marketed. The Sheep Detectives reunion. But that one sounds really great. There's a lot of titles that are playing over the next few days that I'm really excited to hear more about. Paper Tiger would probably be like the one that I'm most excited for because James Gray is one of my favorite working filmmakers, and my favorite actor is in the movie. So why not? But it's funny because transitioning to our next piece of news, His co-star in that movie is Scarlett Johansson, who he, of course, worked with Marriage Story. And we talked last week about Scarlett Johansson being involved with Ari Aster's next movie. Well, we've known for a while that she was rumored to join this project, but now it's been confirmed that she will, in fact, be in the Batman Part 2. And not only will she be in the Batman Part 2, Matt Reeves took to Twitter to announce the entire cast of the movie. So, of course, we have our returning players, Robert Pattinson, of course. We have Andy Serkis coming back, Colin Farrell coming back, Jeffrey Wright coming back, Jamie Lawson coming back, Officer Martinez, my boy, coming back. Very excited to see him in this. But then on top of Scarlett Johansson being one of the new additions, we have Sebastian Stan, who was also rumored a while back to be in the film, Charles Dance, who's most famous for Game of Thrones, Sebastian Koch, who I'm not super familiar with, and probably my favorite new addition that they announced, Brian Tyree Henry. Honestly, we said this, well, I said this when we did our sequels draft a few weeks ago, and The Dark Knight was drafted, and I was asked what my favorite Batman film is. I love The Dark Knight. I think The Dark Knight is incredible. But for some reason, the Batman felt more Brian-coded than The Dark Knight. And plus, like, that film, despite the fact that, yes, it's incredibly long, and yes, it can feel bloated at times, I thought it was a huge winner, and it was what we needed for a new Batman film. And I'm so excited to go back to this world of Gotham City, helmed by Matt Reeves, with this amazing cast. I cannot wait to see it. We don't entirely know who each actor is portraying, and I'm not really like in the mindset of knowing that, although there are rumors that Sebastian Stan will be Harvey Dent, that's a perfect casting for a Harvey Dent, but also Sebastian Stan could do anything. So yeah, I'm very excited. This cast announcement got me stacked, just because I know that we're so close to the start of this movie being filmed, which means that we're going to get it soon. So I'm very excited. What about you? What's your takeaway from this casting announcement? And are you looking forward to the Batman Part 2?
I am, yeah. I'm not quite as high on the Batman as a lot of people were. Dark Knight's still my favorite Batman movie, but I did really like it, and it's been so fucking long at this point that I'm just like excited to have any like concrete news on it, and that it's moving forward. And there were shakeups at DC and all of that this kind of had to weather. So but I don't anticipate that having a negative effect. If anything, I think that the success of the first Batman, I would assume that Matt Reeves is gonna like be allowed to do exactly what he wants to do. And this cast is definitely bolstering that. I think that I definitely hope that Sebastian Stan is playing Harvey Dent. I think that's fantastic casting. Scarlett Johansson, I'm kind of mixed to neutral on her. I usually like her in most stuff, and she's done her fair share of comic book action stuff, and so she'll certainly fit in that world. And then Charles Dance is just like, he's one of the best scary villain character actors generally, and it'd be cool to see if he continues that or if he subverts that in some way. So yeah, definitely cool casting announcements, and I'm hoping this isn't going to come out in 2050 or whatever based on the trajectory so far, but at least we're getting some news.
True. Not a fan of Brian Tyree Henry?
Oh, yes. No, I am. I just forgot about him. Yes. No, I love him.
I want to make sure, because I'm very protective of, if there's one Brian with an eye that I really, really love, it's him.
He's more interesting too. Like I wonder how he will fit into that. I guess he's done the Eternals and stuff like that, but we don't.
He was my favorite. He was my favorite thing about Eternals.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, he's always a highlight of anything that he's in, and yeah, I'm very excited. It feels surreal that we're finally getting this movie. I cannot wait, because it has been so long. It's been 4 years since the movie came out, but it feels so much longer than that.
Yeah, it's a long time to not even, have, for the longest time it was like there's not even a script, and so, it's the general tone has been like, yeah, this has been quite a beast to get off the ground. So yeah, at least it's moving.
Absolutely.
Another movie that we can now anticipate is Helena Rain's next film, which is titled Please. That will be released by A24, starring Gracie Abrams, Connor Story, Tom Burke, and David Johnson. I absolutely loved Baby Girl from Helena Rain. I really liked Bodies, Bodies, Bodies as well. And I still need to see Instinct, her other movie. But yeah, this I'm seated to see whatever she does next. But Brian, how does this cast make you more or less anticipated for her next feature?
I'm definitely looking forward to the movie on its own. I loved Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I wasn't as high on Baby Girl as everyone else, but I need to rewatch that. I've been meaning to get around and give that a second go. This cast though is pretty good. This is a pretty good cast. Gracie Abrams, I like her music. Fellow nepo baby. Interested to see her acting roots. Certainly, I love Tom Burke. I think he's a very criminally underrated talent. I'm a big fan of the Souvenir films from Joanna Hogg, and I thought he was so good in Furiosa. I'm excited to see more from him. Connor's Story, I admittedly have not watched Heated Rivalry yet. It's on the list.
It's
I've
so
seen
good.
I've seen clips and I've seen plenty. I feel like I've gotten my service, but I need more of it. And David Johnson, we talked about this recently, one of the most excited up and coming actors that we have working today. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what Helena Rain does next. I don't entirely know all the details surrounding this movie. I don't know if there's any plot synopsis yet about this movie, but I'm excited certainly. I like the two films from her that I've seen. I haven't seen the other film that you mentioned either, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this certainly.
Yeah, I think that David Johnson especially is like one of the most exciting people we have working right now. I haven't seen him in all that much. I've only seen Rye Lane, which is fantastic, and
So
everyone
good.
should seek that out. And then The Long Walk from last year as well. But I know he's on Industry. I didn't. I know that was kind of his breakout, but
Yeah.
yeah, mostly excited for him. But I also love Tom Burke. Connor Story. I'm from watching him on Heated Rivalry. That's the only thing I know him from. I'm excited to see him like blow up a little bit more and branch out into different kinds of roles. He's a very kind of strong personality on that, and I want to see like if what other range he has there. Gracie Abrams, I don't think I've seen her act necessarily. I don't know if she's done anything before, but yeah, we'll see. And I kind of trust Selena. I loved with Baby Girl. I really loved like hearing both her and Nicole Kidman talk about that movie and kind of their process together. And it seems like they were just like so collaborative. So I think like she's done acting as well. Like I think she's very much an actor's director. So yeah, definitely this is a most anticipated for me.
Absolutely. Something that I myself am very much anticipating. I've been waiting 15 years for a new Adventures of Tintin. Peter Jackson was just at the Cannes Film Festival receiving some honorary Palme d'Or. I think he got some like special recognition there and everything. So good for him. He's a king. He could do whatever, and he's a legend for everything that he's brought to cinema. So The Adventures of Tintin came out in 2011. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. It was his first foray into animation feature filmmaking, and I thought it was really good. It's not top tier Spielberg for me, but even it being in like the mid-tier range, it's still a pretty good outing from Spielberg. Now, in the years since, it was reported that Peter Jackson would direct the second one whenever it happens. But now we finally seem to be hearing about progress where Peter Jackson is currently working on the script for The Adventures of Tintin 2 with plans of him directing. Now, this does get me excited for many reasons. One, I am looking forward to going back to the world of Tintin. I'd be interested to see what direction they go, especially because motion capture animation isn't as prevalent now as it was back in the late 2000s, early 2010s when this movie came out. But also, this would be Peter Jackson's first narrative feature that he directed since The Third Hobbit came out in 2014, because he's been on the route of doing documentaries with the They Shall Never Grow Old and the Beatles stuff that he did. So I, for one, am very excited to see this if it does come to fruition. And I really hope it does, because it would be really fun to return to this world, because the Tintin just didn't really get the best rep, because a lot of people paled it in comparison to other Spielberg films, but it had those Spielberg sensibilities in animation form, and I thought it kicked ass. So I am looking forward to this if it does come out. And, who wouldn't want to see a new Peter Jackson directed film on the big screen? That maybe I'm the one that wants that, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I have not seen Tintin. That's one of my Spielberg blind spots, but so I'm not necessarily anticipating it from that direction. I'm sure I'll watch the first one before this comes out, but definitely am anticipating a Peter Jackson narrative film. Yeah, I'm not interested in the Beatles all that much, so I have not taken part in any of the sort of documentary stuff that he's been doing lately. So yeah, I think that he's one of the great big spectacle directors, and yeah, definitely to have him having a narrative feature coming back out soon, like that's really exciting. So definitely anticipating it on that level.
Absolutely.
And then we have one other animated movie to discuss here. The voice cast for Bong Joon-ho's Ali has been announced. So we have Iowa Debris, Bradley Cooper, Dave Bautista, Finn Wolfhard, Alex Jane Go, Rachel House, and Werner Herzog. And it definitely seems like this is going to be, I would sort of say in the like Okja vein. It seems like it's, an animated movie following Ali, who is a curious and endearing piglet squid, and living in the depths of the South Pacific Ocean. Seems like it's going to be that sort of like environmental bend kind of thing here, and I think that like I totally believe in Bong Joon-ho's ability to wring something out of here, as this movie could definitely be very very charming, possibly devastating, possibly a tearjerker. But yeah, this voice cast just makes me more excited. I think that I definitely want to see all of these people work with Bong. What about for you?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago when it was announced that Neon acquired the rights for this movie. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'm excited. Bong Joon-ho could have gotten the smallest cast ever, and I still would be excited. But
true,
Bradley Cooper working with Bong Joon-ho, it's a pretty cool director to add to your resume. Batista, we talked about this a while back. I think Batista is a really exceptional actor. I think he's had such a fascinating career outside of the Marvel space and everything. And Iowa Debris, my queen, love her so much. I need her to bounce up after the hunt. I need her to, because not one of her finest outings. Let's just say that, but it wasn't her fault. But yeah, I'm excited for this. It sounds like it's going to be a tearjerker, and hopefully maybe it'll premiere at next year's Cannes, and it could compete for the Palme d'Or. And who knows, maybe Bong Joon-ho could win another Palme. We'll have to see. I also don't think an anime film has ever won the Palme. I was reading something about that the other day. There hasn't been an animated film in competition for the Palme since I think 2008, 7 maybe. It's been a long time. Like, anime films have gone to Cannes, but never in competition. So, yeah, I'm very excited for this. How could you not be? It's the next Bong Joon-ho film.
Yeah, we're going to be seated.
Absolutely. And lastly, we had a trailer come out this week. A pretty major trailer. Maybe not major to the non-cinephiles, but to me and Veronica and the cinephiles out there, we're very excited for this. So we got our first trailer for the new Laika film, Wildwood. Unfortunately, this is not about Wildwood, New Jersey. It could have been a New Jersey film, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Actually, it's probably the best that it's not about that.
They could tie it into the marketing.
Exactly.
Have some premiere at Wildwood.
Yes, please. Let's make that happen. If you're listening, premiere this movie at Wildwood, New Jersey. I'll be honest, like, I originally wasn't going to watch this trailer because with Laika films and with most films nowadays, I try to go in relatively blind because I like to not see any images until I'm seated for the movie. But I just kept seeing it all over Twitter, and then everybody was saying the praises about this trailer, so I'm like, okay, let me go to my TV and watch the trailer there because I don't want to watch on my little phone and everything. And oh my God, I gotta be honest, this was one of the best trailers that I've seen in maybe my entire life. When you have an M83 needle drop, you know how to automatically hook me. This looks so phenomenal. It looks so beautifully animated. I love the title card of from the hands who made Coraline. That's very important that we have something like this because only humans can make art. These computers without human attached to it, they can't replicate the sheer genius that goes into making a movie like this. It looks so moving and so poignant, and it looks like it's going to be such a heart-shattering watch. But with most of Laika's movies, you find so much to resonate with, and I'm very excited. And it's crazy, too. I didn't even put two and two together that Travis Knight is directing this because Masters of the Universe comes out in a few weeks. So we literally have two different outings, two different sides of Travis Knight this year with the live-action fare and that, and then the animated side in this. So I'm really excited. And, I never thought that I would watch a trailer to a movie with Charlie Day and get emotional because whenever I hear Charlie Day, I just think of It's Always Sunny. But, hey, range if I've ever seen it. So I'm very excited for this. This was
Charlie
a really
Day can
impressive
do anything.
trailer. He can, but, like, as someone who watches It's Always Sunny all the time, I just hear him as Charlie when I hear his voice. But hearing him as, like, a father in a moving Laika animation, I can't wait. I'm very excited for this.
I kind of the same approach to you. I was like, I don't really want to see the trailer. I know that I want to see it. I've seen like images and little clips though, just around. And yeah, the thing I've seen most is that title card that says "From the Hands That Brought You Coraline," which yeah, it's really emphasizing like not just the team, but like this is a handcrafted thing with love and passion put into it. And I mean this voice cast too. Like you know you mentioned Charlie Day, but Jacob Tremblay, Carey Mulligan, Mahershala Ali, Awkwafina, Angela Bassett, Jake Johnson. Like there's a ton of people in this. You know, who knows how big those parts are going to be and everything. But yeah, this definitely seems like the sort of, you know, epic return to like, I definitely, you know, of the Laika movies, I think Coraline and Corpse Bride are probably most important for me. But, you know, I know that people are really love and appreciate everything that studio does. And so, yeah, really exciting to have another entry there.
Yeah, I would say Coraline and Kubo and the True Strains are the top ones for me. I do like Paranorman. Box Trolls, I've never seen Box Trolls, I don't think, and Missing Link I thought was okay. I thought it was fine for what it was, but this one I'm very excited to see. I can't wait to see this one.
For sure.
And with that, we are done playing catch up. That concludes our recap of the past week. So now it's time to get into our main topic, our reviews of Obsession and Is God Is. We're going to start out with Aleshea Harris's Is God Is, give our non-spoiler thoughts before transitioning into full spoiler territory. So Veronica, what did you think of Is God Is? How did you feel walking into it? And how did you feel coming out of it?
Yeah, I definitely, I think going into it, I didn't have any real expectations. I did see this trailer at some point, and I thought it looked really good, but didn't know much beyond that. And I think within the first few minutes of the movie, I could generally see, you know, I don't think this would be considered a spoiler. It's kind of the genre. Like I could see that it's a revenge thriller movie, which is not necessarily my fave, but it could certainly be done well. And you know, I think that maybe Tarantino is the most widely used comp here. Like that's what most people might compare this to. But I personally think that it avoids a lot of the traps that sort of like Kill Bill knockoffs that come out of, you know, that movie being so popular, like any of the traps that those fall into. I think it really like handles all of this really well. It has really strong characters, a strong sensibility, and I think that, you know, it like it's just really it's really well realized. I think that it strikes an interesting tone. It gives you some amazing actors who I hadn't really seen in much before, and it's, you know, it's bold, but it's also grounded. It takes the question of what true justice looks like seriously, and it manages to deliver on like both the uneasiness of that, but also the catharsis in seeking vengeance. And it's like it's an interesting tone. Like it's intense, but it's also really fun. And yeah, so I think that, you know, without having much you know, preconceived notions going into it, I was like pretty blown away by this. I think that I had a great time, and yeah, if that's like the sort of genre that you're interested in at all, I think that this is a fantastic entry. But what about you, Brian?
I went into this film completely blind. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't watch the trailer. I knew who was in it, who was involved with it, and that's all I knew walking into it. So I had no idea what to expect with this movie because I genuinely didn't know what genre it was. I didn't know if this was like a straightforward drama. I didn't know if it was a thriller. I didn't know if it was a horror. I had no idea what I was walking into, which to me always makes for a rewarding experience, going in knowing little to nothing about a movie. And I walked out of it pretty floored. I was very impressed with this film. First of all, the fact that it's a directorial debut is really incredible. I'm very excited to see what Aleshea Harris does next, but it's important to point out that she wrote and directed this. It's based on a play that she had penned. So it's always interesting whenever someone takes a play and brings it to the screen, because you're wondering to yourself, does it work best on the stage than it does on screen? And I can't comment on what the stage version of this material was like, but watching the film, it was very captivating. It was very engrossing. It was very much on the edge of your seat. And yeah, the sensibilities and what it tackles and how it conveys it, it makes for a really harrowing, but also a pretty like entertaining time, if you want to call it that. Because I was on the edge of my seat watching this, but I was also having a really great time because I do like a good revenge thriller. But, you know, similar to you, they could be a bit wonky for me depending on how they're conveyed and how they're handled. But I thought there was so much there was a lot of fire to this, and the topics that it tackled, there was no shying away from it, and it was, for as entertained and as excited I was watching it, I was like pretty terrified through and through. And not only was the directing and the writing great, I think the cast kicks so much ass, literally and metaphorically. They really knock it out of the park. They're all incredible. I cannot wait to delve into the two performances of Cara Young and Mallory Johnson. I'm specifically excited to talk about them because, oh my God, like, holy shit. These are two star-making performances. Like, keep these girls working. Like, please keep giving them work after this. But yeah, I'm very excited to delve into this movie with you. I'm excited to talk about it. Again, it was such a surprise not knowing anything about the movie, but it was a rewarding watch in the long run for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cara Young, and I was watching the movie, and I didn't necessarily recognize her or anything, but I was like, I recognize that name a lot, and I just realized that she's the one who has won, like, back-to-back Tonys, I think the last 2 years, so she's, a pretty prolific stage actress, and yeah, I definitely think that, I hope that this really blows her up, and she's in a million more things now, because she's so
currently on stage right now, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, she's in Proof, I think, with
Iowa Debris.
And Don Cheadle, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, she was definitely, like, the standout if I had to pick one. But yeah, everyone is really great here.
Yes, all right, absolutely.
Should we get into our spoiler thoughts?
Let's do it. So, would you like to set up the story for us in case people, well, obviously, if you haven't seen the movie, please get out of here and watch the movie now. But
yeah, we highly recommend.
Yes, absolutely. So, would you like to set up the story for us?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first image we see is them as two young girls back to the camera, and we hear a kid making fun of one of the girls, saying, "Isn't she ugly?" And then one of the other girl gets up and goes and off camera hits that boy with a bat pretty badly from what we can gather. And so that's kind of our first intro. You're like, okay, this is like that's kind of setting you up for what you're in for. And then yeah, we're introduced to Anaya and Racine, and Racine has a scarring and burning on one of her arms, and then Anaya is her sort of face and chest and everything are pretty badly burned. I think you've probably seen in the trailers or the marketing for this movie, like that's what she looks like throughout the film. And yeah, they're twins. They are super close with one another. They have this sort of psychic connection, which I think is really interestingly portrayed throughout. And they get a letter from their estranged mom that she's dying and wants to see them. And so I think when they receive this letter, I think that's the first instance we get of like the demonstration of their psychic connection, that they're just sending looks back and forth across the screen to each other. But we're getting sort of subtitles, like really stylized. And so that also, I enjoyed how they set that up. Like that's, there's not an overall like supernatural necessarily, or at least not explicitly to this movie, but you get the understanding that like these are two, metaphysically connected humans, and that was really cool. And so yeah, then we're going to visit their mom, and if you want to reveal how that goes and who their mom is played by, which was really interesting.
Oh my God, yeah. So just to show how little I knew about this movie, like I remember reading about this movie when it was announced of who was in it. I was like, oh wow, powerhouse cast. But then as the movie kept playing along, I'm like, oh my God, they're in this, and they're in this, and they're in this. Like, Aleshea Harris getting, like, all these awesome actors. Like, my God. Like, it kind of did feel like a Tarantino movie at times, just being like, oh, my God, they're here, and they're here, and they're here. Just, love it. So, they go visit their mom, and we see that she is burned all over her body. And, when we're introduced to the mom, I'm like, I know that voice, and I recognize that face, even with all that makeup on her. I'm like, oh, why do I know her? And then when we get flashbacks of her, I'm like, I still can't put my finger on who this is. And then when the credits rolled, I'm like, oh my God, Vivica A. Fox, Queen herself, like, what? Incredible. So they go visit her mom, and she's on her deathbed. She's so severely burnt up. She's in this bed, hidden from reality, has these caretakers there with her to help her out. And we learn about how not only did she get burnt, but also the two main characters of this story. We learn in a flashback that just one simple night, she's just making dinner for her and her daughters, and this man comes in who happens to be her ex, the father of their children. Should I reveal who he's played by? I mean, everyone's seen the movie at this point. Like, should I say it or should I just build up to it?
Yeah, well, it's you could say it, but you don't know that right away. Like he is shot in really like tight. You know, you're only seeing parts of his body. You don't really get his face reveal until the end.
We're only seeing essentially like his feet and then his mouth and everything, but like nothing from above, which I thought that was a really cool filmmaking technique. And you know, she's basically, I like the way that they shot this particular sequence to where she's speaking the dialogue that she's essentially speaking to her children, and we see her talking instead of a voiceover, which I think made it honestly a bit more effective. And I like how this scene, a lot of it was shot to look like one take. A lot of it for a long period, the camera wasn't cut in, like it was flown around, which made it feel like a bit of a play. Because obviously the flow and nature of it, and I really appreciate that element of it. So she basically says, oh, I tried to tell him to go away and stay away from us because that was the objective and everything. But he chooses not to leave, and he knocks me out, puts me in the bathtub, pours oil on me, and burns me. And then the children come in, and then they're stuck in there, and we just get this heroin shot of him standing out by the door, smoking a cigarette, whistling along, and you hear the screams in the background. You see the flames coming in, everything, the shadows of it and everything. And that is how we learned that all three of these women were affected in the situation, specifically Vivica A. Fox's character, who plays the mom. And I like, too, how in the credits, they're not necessarily referred to like differently, or I looked on the Wikipedia and they're labeled as like the mother, the father, the second wife, and I'm like, huh, interesting. But her name is Ruby. She's the mom, and very intense sequence to watch. I mean, like to the point where I was sinking in my seat. How did you feel about this whole sequence and everything?
Yeah, it's a really effective flashback. You know, you called out the not really doing it in a voiceover, like it's sort of happening live as she's living through the flashback, and it's really like sepia toned, and there's this, you know, creepy cartoon that the song that the kids were watching in the background that is just like haunting this and everything. So yeah, just really effectively done. And yeah, I also, by this point, I did not know who played the father, and I thought it was really interesting how they were obscuring his face, and he was just this malevolent figure who was attacking this family. And yeah, I think that it was all really well done, and it totally sets up. I mean, you know, we're immediately on board with whatever revenge mission they're gonna go on. Like, this guy is, you know, the fucking worst. There's no real ambiguity about that, and so it definitely sets you up on the right foot to be rooting for these girls to kind of get whatever vengeance that they can. And yes, their mother implores them that since she's dying, she's giving them this mission that they just need to go and make their dad dead. Like, that's just, she's, you know, at this point where that's kind of all she wants out of this life. And she just wants them to track him down and make him not alive anymore. And so then the differences in the sisters start to come out now, where Racine is much more like fiery. She's like, you know, she feels that it's interesting. They call their mother God, because they're like, she created us. Like, she's and it's sort of this running thing throughout, where it's like they're all of the shit that they've had to deal with in the world and all the horrible people and evil that is out there, but they have this bond between them is so strong, and the sort of it's almost like she created us, so like she is all good as well, like she is of us, and it's interesting, and I like how that plays out throughout. So yeah, they are now on their mission. Their mother tells them about the woman that he got together with after leaving them, and so they track her down. Her name is Divine, and she's played by Erica Alexander, another great actress here. And she is running a church, and I think this is maybe like the funniest sequence. This was like a very, you know, not even woo-woo, I don't know, just very, very intense sort of worshiping church that they walk in on.
Everyone just going, ah!
Yeah, they're
Freaking
speaking
out
in
and everything.
tongues, yeah. And so they're here to ask her for some information. There was a funny moment. There was like another church lady there while they're talking to Divine, and I think she says to Anaya with the more badly burned, she was like, she can heal you. She healed so and so's sleep apnea, and he doesn't have to sleep on the porch anymore. What a like funny little detail.
That was funny.
Yeah, and so we get this scene with Divine, and she also has a son with their father. I think she says that he would be their half brother, and both of them are like really brainwashed into being obsessed with this man. And apparently he left as she was pregnant with this boy, and so I don't think they've seen him in probably a good 20 years or something. But they are both like so obsessed with like the proximity to this man's toxic masculinity that they still sort of worship him. And you're definitely getting the tones of religious culture like upholding the patriarchy in that way, that they're she has a little shrine to him like waiting for him to come home, even though as I think Racine or Anaya says, like, this man left you when you were pregnant, like you're still waiting on him to come back, like so yeah, we're definitely getting the sense here that like there are different, I don't know, perspectives or like different ways to react to someone who is so toxic and controlling. And for some people, it's like they get brainwashed by it. They get like obsessed with trying to find that love or connection again in whatever way it exists. And where our two twins are just like, this man needs to die at this point. Yeah, but how did the whole sequence with Divine work for you?
Oh, this sequence was so funny. It was so entertaining. And again, not knowing who else was in this cast, I was like, oh my God, Erica Alexander, literally love her. And I shit you not. So I saw this movie yesterday. Right before I went to go watch this, I started that Fall and Rise of Reggie Jenkins
Reggie
show,
Jenkins,
and she's on that. So watching this, I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Like, it was just a purely coincidental moment for me where I'm like, I literally just watched this person in something not even a half hour ago, and now I'm watching her in this movie. All power to it. Yeah, this sequence was interesting because you got to see that this man who we don't know a ton about. We know enough, but we're still learning more about him. We learned that he's affected other people too. So we hear that he's someone who has a lingering impact on other people too, not just our two main characters and their mother. So I thought that was really cool to show, oh no, this guy is like a genuinely terrifying man. Like, I mean, the fact that he does this to other people, has done this to other people, just says so much about who he is. So I really liked this sequence. It did give us a nice sense of comedy that we needed, because the moments before this were so dark and so bleak that this was a nice like refresher for us before we got into what follows this, where it goes back to the intensity that we had early on in the film, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think like the pacing is done really well, to where, I don't think that there are sort of both comedy and intensity pretty much in every scene. Like, I don't think that it necessarily goes up and down, or, that we're moving from something super dramatic to something super funny. Like, it's all kind of woven throughout, and it's within these characters too. I think Racine especially is just, she's so feisty that sort of creates, like, you sort of have the sense that like she can escalate a scene to get intense or violent or something, but also that she can, create a laugh whenever she wants. Like, I think that for both of them, and the way that she and Anaya play off of one another too is just like really effective, and so you're kind of getting that in every single scene. And I think she steals Divine's wallet, and that's how she finds this lawyer, or it was something from the
it was an address
the shrine
book.
The address book, yeah.
Yeah.
So she discovers this lawyer who they believe represented their father in the case after he had burned their family. And so we meet this man. He is we walk in on him paying to get beat up, which I definitely thought was going to be like a sexual thing. I was like, go off, king,
That's what I thought too.
Shame. But it kind of just turns out to be that he is sort of anticipating their father coming back to kill him at some point. He's just like such this, scary guy that he's just sort of training to die well. I think he says we learn through another flashback that his I don't remember why, if there was a specific comment or something, but after their father won the case against them, he said something, and his father ripped out this lawyer's tongue, and so he speaks using a whiteboard now. Also, by the way, in that flashback, the moment I knew it was Sterling K. Brown was when they show his smile, and I think the lawyer mentioned something about like those, pearly white teeth or something, and I was like, oh, that's Sterling K. Brown. I get it. I can.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Sterling K. Brown, it's like you could recognize that man's face anywhere. Like I knew he was I remember reading that he was in the movie, but also I saw him post about it on socials very recently.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in it before.
So, but I didn't know who he was in this movie and everything. Like I didn't know his role. Again, I didn't know anything about the movie walking into it. So
they should have showed a shot of his abs, and then I would have known it was him. But
that would
teeth were good too.
That would have been nice. That would have been nice because. Yeah. Anyway, it's not that kind of discussion today. But yeah.
Yeah. So he's got this background with the father as well. And I think that it's kind of like it's interesting. Like we said, we like how the flashbacks are handled. You kind of get these little like character based diversions, like where it's not just someone telling the story, but it's I don't know if this is maybe a little bit of a shade towards Tarantino. I feel like movies like this can sort of like get enamored with going off on a tangent and like really indulgent in diving into someone's backstory and just sort of like diverting from the plot a lot. And I just really think that these were like lean, mean little narratives, little vignettes that we can get a sense of this, this side character has their whole other journey, but we're still kind of remaining focused on like our primary characters. So I just think that all of that was really well paced, really well shot, well cut, things like that. So yeah, I think that this lawyer, they kind of explain their mission here. He warns them against it because he says your father's just like such a bad guy, like just leave it alone. He has this line written on the whiteboard, like be careful with vengeance, one doesn't know where the blood will land. Not a wholly original thought in a movie like this, but like that's a bar nonetheless. And he also reveals that their dad had twin boys, and that's I thought of that moment. It's almost like from an anime or something, like they like learn that they have another enemy out there that they have to defeat or something, and just that was just like so fun.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I liked this sequence a lot. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but not knowing who was in it. So it was how do you pronounce his name? Mike Kettle Williamson.
Mike Kelty, I think.
Yeah,
Williamson,
yeah. He. I know him as Bubba from Forrest Gump. That's the thing that I immediately think of right away.
I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Yeah. So like, I was putting two to two together. I'm like, again, I know this guy's face. Obviously, you can't really hear his voice because he can't talk. That whole sequence was very like. The amount of blood in this, oh my God. The amount of blood in both of the movies that we're talking about today, Jesus Christ. No, this was a very cool sequence too, and I'm just like, oh my God. More kids? Like, what? Are you kidding? Like, God, this guy likes to get around. Oh my God.
It's also kind of giving like Scott Pilgrim or something. Like there's the evil twins out there.
Exactly. Exactly. So is this when the sequence that follows this, is this when we get the heroin sequence involving the car and the motorcycle rider?
Yeah.
It's right after this, right?
They have sort of a quiet moment first where they're stopped on the side of the road, and I think there's a good line that I wrote down at the time, like Anaya sort of gets frustrated with Racine and gets really emotional. Like she's like, you're enjoying this too much, essentially. You're this seeking vengeance is feeling less like it's about justice for us and more like she's got this bloodlust that's coming through. And Racine says something like I think that I just want to step on someone for once. It must feel good if everyone else keeps doing it. Just the sense there that like they've been kicked around so much in their life, and like why not this be their opportunity to fight back, essentially. And she mentions that Racine says, I think she said it before, that like she's killed someone before, and Anaya's like, no, you haven't. And she said that she in their foster homes previously, she gave her foster dad a heart attack because she just like frustrated him all the time and like antagonized him. And just the way that like where Anaya is like much more passive, and just the sense there that deepens their characters a little bit, where like Racine is just she kind of feels like death, vengeance, like these things can be justified if, the offense was bad enough. And Anaya is a little bit more like more tends to forgive. But yeah, this is pretty much cut short when there's a mysterious man in a motorcycle who disables their car, and then a sort of action sequence evolves from there, if you want to cover how that works out.
Yeah, I didn't expect an action set piece to happen in this movie. I was just like, oh my God, like there's already so much going on. There's people being burned, and there's comedy, and then people doing devilish acts, and then someone's tongue is getting removed, and now there's an action set piece. Like, what is this movie? And mind you, it's only like 95 minutes long, so a lot happens in this movie. And for a debut, I'm like, wow, go for it, Queen, fire off. We love to see it. So yeah, this motorcycle rider is chasing them around with a hammer and trying to fight them and everything. And it's a very intense sequence because they're together at one point and then they separate at one point, and it's just like, what's going to happen here? And then it's revealed that it was the son of Divine that we met just a few minutes prior.
Ezekiel, I think was his name.
And he's like, you're not going to kill my daddy. You're not going to kill my father. You're not going to take him down, blah, blah, blah. So they just leave him there, and then they just go about their time, and then they just keep walking until their next destination and everything.
Yeah, and I think he says something like he created me, and so it's almost that sort of the way that the twins sort of identify their own mother as God. It's like this kid is like, again, like brainwashed by the patriarchy, where like this man is God to him because of just the way that identifying that a father figure is to be respected and defended no matter what, even though he completely abandoned this child before he was even born, and he should have absolutely no allegiance to him. But it's just the patriarchy is a powerful drug, and they're gonna fight against it as best they can. And yes, then we are introduced to their next target, which is their father's current wife, who is played by Janelle Monáe, who I think she was the one person that I knew was in this, because I adore Janelle Monáe. I think
the most beautiful woman
so
I think
good.
I've ever seen in my entire life.
She's so like ethereal. Like I've seen her in concert.
It's like how do people like her exist? Like that's just not fair.
She's so good at everything too. Like she is like already like a fantastic pop star, and then she just becomes one of the greatest actors when she feels like it.
She's literally a renaissance man. She could do no wrong, and she has proven herself from time to time that she could do like wonderful things as a musician, as an actor, as an activist. Just oh God, and just when she walks out, I'm just like, God, you are like the hottest person I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God, the like ensemble that she wears later, like all gray with like the flowy and the like head. Oh my God, yeah, she just like looks so fabulous.
And then her walking with the high heels and everything, like just great. Oh my God, so good.
I love her so much. So yeah, we got an introduction to her as well as these two twin boys. And there's like a moment there. They live in this like very beautiful, fancy house. She is seen being sort of like a 50s housewife, like just sort of manically polishing, making sure everything looks perfect, getting this man's...
Not today.
The quick, like, almost fourth wall break when she's in the closet, like, arranging his hats, and then she just kind of, like, looks at the camera like, yeah, I know, this is, like, ridiculous. So good, yeah. So we're sort of catching her on the day that she's kind of gonna escape and leave her children and this man, and we see her like packing up and getting her things into the car, and she asks her twins to come and help, and they're just sort of like spoiled rich kids from what we can see.
What about dinner?
Yeah, and she just like looks like she probably wouldn't mind so much that they don't have a great fate later, because she's just so done with everybody. But I was just thinking like just compare that, like she is clearly at a point where like she is fed up with her family. We don't have a lot of context for that, but I think we can probably infer just from the little that we see that, what she's going through on a day-to-day basis, and just the fact that, this is her version of escaping her family versus the father's version originally of burning his whole fucking family down. Like just the way in which men versus women have to get out of different situations or choose to get out of different situations. I just think that was like so clear, but she is not totally blameless as someone who has, gotten together with this man. So the twins confront her as she's driving away. They sort of block her car. And what did you get from that confrontation with the twins on the road?
Yeah, it was interesting to see her at basically the tail end of her patience of being with this man and having
Yeah.
to deal with him and his actions, and then the two kids that they have. She was just so fed up and just ready to dip the fuck out. And I'm like, you know what? You go. You get out of there right now. And let's just say that, when she left that house, she thought she was going to get further, and she does not. It was a very intense sequence. It was funny because of her coming out of the car. Mind you, she had like the window down and everything when she closed the door, and then she still locked the car. It's like, you left the window open. Why would you lock the car? Like, that's just like, only Janelle Monáe can make me go, okay, I'll let it slide and everything. But yeah, it just made for an intense sequence. And then, Racine was kind of trying to be calm and everything. She was trying to not go to her intense stage and everything. And then Angie, Janelle Monáe's character, just like goes off and says all these things about Ruby and everyone else. And then
Yeah.
Rancine
They explain
is like,
that they're his other
yeah.
children, and she's pretty clear what they're here for.
Yep.
More so money or child support or something. Not
Yes,
that they're on a
yes.
vengeance
She's under the
mission, but-
impression that they're there for that, but it's like, no, we don't care about that at all. We care about putting him to his end. And then Angie is like trying to run away and then try to go into the car, and then, well, let's just say that she meets her fate with a sock and a rock.
Sock and a rock. Yeah, that is their weapon of choice for most of the movie. This was so like, obviously we know that this confrontation is going to happen, that Angie is, doesn't know what she's up against here. But I think that the moment when, Angie kind of goes off and says that they're, talks badly about them and their mother and the way in which everything played out and everything. And then, when she spits at Racine, that's obviously
God.
the moment when I was like,
The spit.
Racine, like Carrie Young's performance there is so good because it was actually like a de-escalation that I believed. Like, how there's every like tough character in a movie when someone like crosses the line like that, spitting on them or something. It's like, or it's almost like the Joe Pesci kind of thing where you're like, oh, I'm gonna laugh at this and like pretend that I'm okay with this. And she says like this bitch spitting she almost sort of, she convinced me that she was gonna actually like de-escalate the situation here and like, I don't know, take a different approach or something. But then it of course she, kills her with the
it
sock.
ignited that switch in her. It ignited that fire in her, and that was so intense.
Yeah. But it was so convincingly played, and then this was
played.
also the moment when I noticed, she sort of like chases Angie to the back of the car and then finishes her off there. We're sort of just seeing her like her feet sticking out, and that was kind of the moment I noticed. I was like, there hasn't really been a ton of violence on screen. Even the most was probably the lawyer flashback scene, but even that was like, there's sort of blood splattering, but you don't see like gore. You don't really see necessarily like the punches landing or anything. And I kind of had this thought in the moment that I was like, I think they're probably saving that for the final confrontation, and that played out to be true.
Yes.
Which I think is really smart. I don't think that like at no point in this movie are you like getting assaulted with like, intense gore or like I said, it's mostly just some blood splatters, and some good sound design to sort of give you the impression, which is worse sometimes than, again, gonna put him on blast again, like Tarantino. These beatings would be so like the camera would be all up in there, and it would be like, they probably didn't have maybe working with budget constraints too, but I think that made it more creative for like, we're not experiencing the full intensity of this violence quite yet until the end.
Yeah.
This
was a very visceral sequence because, like you said, this was really our first hint of like super brutal violence before like the actual violence came in the last 30 to 40 minutes of the movie, which obviously take place right after this. And I just want to go back briefly to the spitting. When she spits in her face and like the audio is like silent for like a few seconds, I was like, oh man, like you just know that like, oh shit's about to hit the fan, and it was just so effective. Like, oh, it was too good. And Kara Young's performance in that moment, oh my god, I kind of wanted to save it for the performances, but I just want to briefly say that like I said at the top, give her every project, and I legit mean that. Like, truly give her everything. Film, television, stage, just give her everything. It makes sense why she has won 2 Tonys, and she was nominated for 4 consecutive. I looked that up last night after I saw the movie, and I'm like, yeah, just give her everything, because, wow, what a queen. We stan you. We stan you.
We stand for sure, yeah. She scared me now into saying anything else. No, I'm just kidding. She's so good.
I know, God forbid you say something bad and then she comes up behind you and then smacks you with her sock rock.
That sock rock. Yeah. For sure, yeah. And so so Angie's off the board. They head back to the house to confront the twins and to wait for their father to get home. The twins think that they're strippers sent by their dad for an early birthday present. And they're Scotch and Riley are the twins' names.
Yep.
And definitely you get a quick little intro on them too, and definitely seems like it's one is the sort of like partying, fun-loving one, and the other one is a bit more serious. And so yeah, the fun-loving one is like, great, these are strippers, and the girls are like, okay, should we just go along with this? And they're like, they're our brothers. It's kind of weird, and but they're not left with a lot of choices. As they're getting ready, again, a great moment.
I love that sequence where they're contemplating if they should go forward with this and everything. And you brought up the captions on screen, which I think was one of the coolest elements of this movie, and it was just so cool too, like how every time a caption would come up, it was like it did like a cool sound. It was like a weird like click noise, and I thought that was so cool. And I liked when it said like, but there are brothers, and then it like crossed it out and said half. Like it emphasized on the half part, and I'm like, this is too good and everything. And that format didn't get tiring for me. Like every time it came back on screen, I was like, yeah, this is effective, and it works every single time. It didn't get stale. It didn't overstay its welcome. It worked the entire time throughout the movie. But anyway, continuing what you were saying.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's definitely, and it's like distinctive, the way that it's formatted and everything. Yeah, and I think they choose when to use it wisely. So yeah, as they're getting ready for their stripper performance, another great moment of them just like being so connected, and Racine noticing to Anaya, why do your boobs look a little bit bigger? And like she barely even has to say anything, and she's like, okay, she's pregnant. And they talked about this earlier, I think before this mission even kicked off, that Anaya has a sort of boyfriend who is someone who she sees time to time and hooks up with and stuff, but like he's sort of not willing to claim her as a girlfriend, and just a lot of the body image, self-esteem issues that come out of her face being so badly burned, and sort of Racine saying like, you don't need to just accept scraps from this man just because like he'll have sex with you but he won't be your boyfriend. And she's like, I don't have the luxury of being picky like that. Like you are still pretty. I don't really have that I don't have that luxury, and so she kind of has to like take what she can get. And so there's sort of the sense there that like her being pregnant it's not ideal circumstances, it's not an ideal father figure here likely, but both of the girls sort of, again, with their bond of like, we are so special and connected to each other, and it's like this your baby could be like another little us. Like it's almost like a really sort of beautiful moment of seeing a future for themselves that involves someone else who can provide love to them when so many other people have treated them so poorly. So it's it's a nice little character moment there. And then they're gonna perform their stripper dance for their brothers. But Scotch, the like sort of crazier brother, calls Anaya ugly and asks her to step out of the room. And
well, actually, he asked her to turn around to face in the opposite direction instead.
True, to turn around, which I think she says that this man that she's hooking up with, I think that's what he asks her to do during sex, and like the idea that she's okay, certain aspects of her, but like her face is just this unacceptable, monstrous thing that people can't handle, which is just so devastating. So he asks her to turn around. He mentions to I think she leaves. She gets upset and leaves, and then Racine is like, my sister's not ugly, and he says something like, oh yeah, all God's children are beautiful or whatever, and it's like at this moment like Racine is not gonna handle any of that. So we get each sister pairing off with each brother. Anaya and Riley have a conversation in the kitchen, and Racine and Scotch are in the bedroom. And yeah, I think both of those confrontations go how you might imagine.
Exactly. Anaya's is more like endearing and hopeful and wholesome, and then Racine's just like, fuck you. You don't say that about my sister. I'm going to fucking end you. And she does. And the thing is, we don't like. I like the way that this shot was handled, because we get this like really cool shot from his POV, and then like it like you see a punch, but you don't know exactly what got punched and everything. And then he walks out. We see him from behind. We see his hand above his throat. And I was under the impression that maybe like that's what happened. She like punched him in the throat or everything. Like just a simple like that, and that was it. Nothing more. But knowing Racine up until this point, we knew she wasn't playing around. He comes out, and then one of the guys like taps his back, and then blood pops out. Like he is coughing up all this blood, and just he dies.
Yeah, he's done.
He's done.
And they going into this situation, Anaya had made Racine agree that they weren't going to kill the twins, because she was like, they didn't choose any of this. Like they can't help it that they're his kids, but through his behavior, Racine decides that he deserves this, and all of the other guys who are at the party leave. It's just Riley there, like cradling his dead brother, and Racine is like, well, we got to kill him too. Like he's if for nothing else, he's a witness to this. And Anaya is trying to explain like no, I've seen this glimmer of good in him, that maybe he has gotten out of this without any of their fathers touching him in this bad way and everything. So she is putting herself in front of him to protect him from Racine. And like this is the moment when like the sisters are genuinely like at odds. Like they've disagreed before, but now they are like really willing to fight over this. And so Anaya and Riley are able to escape outside. They're hiding from Racine, and then Riley just has a turn as well. He just totally snaps, and sort of, I think it was sort of similar to the Ezekiel attack moment when he's like, that's my father, like you can't attack him. He sort of snaps in a similar way where he's like, you come into my house, you kill my brother. Like it's all like this sort of like larger sense of offense that's it's not even emotional, like I love my brother and you killed him. Like it was again, I think it sort of reflects on that toxic masculinity of like, you don't get to offend me in some way and get away with it. Like I need to prove my own retribution here. And so he strangles Anaya a bit, I think, and then Racine comes and they both attack. There's a scrape there, and it ends up with Riley dead in the pool, turning the pool bright red, of course, which is a great visual.
I did not expect him to like have that shift, because I was so certain. Yeah, I was so certain that he was going to be like, good-hearted the whole time and everything. Maybe there was going to be something underneath the surface, but when he made that switch and it just abruptly happens, like the smile, he was like, oh, thank you for saving me. And then he just immediately went into choking her. And I'm like, wow, this is not what I expected at all. And the way
it's just
that
like sad for Anaya, who's like trying to look for any good in this situation.
Exactly.
And she thinks she found it, and
someone has to. That's the thing. In the midst of this horrific thing that's going on, somebody has to try to look for something good. And every time she tries to see the good in something, the good immediately goes away, and then we see their true colors. And him getting stabbed and then drowning in the pool, very heroin stuff. Mm-hmm. And if you thought the bloodiness ended there, well, there's more.
Now we get the big bad, their father.
What we've all been waiting for.
Yeah. And again, we're starting off just seeing his feet walk through the door, taking his shoes off, putting on house slippers, like just the way that this is a very like exacting kind of man. And we're sort of getting I think he sees the first dead brother first, but at this point, Racine is knocked out from the fight with Riley. Anaya is dragging her around the house, trying to hide them, so that they're not discovered right away. And they're hiding under the dining room table. And we see the father come home, observe both of his dead sons, and proceed to make a sandwich, as one does. And
it looked like a yummy sandwich.
Looked pretty good, yeah. And kind of proving this guy is still a psychopath. He is not really changed, and even without seeing his face, just that reaction.
What about him with his shoes, his little like flip flops or whatever? His little comfy shoes.
You put on the house slippers. That's like he's such a like particular kind of guy. I mean, a lot of people do that, but it's just so such a little detail to kind of build out his character.
Yeah.
And the moment when the girls are hiding under the dining room table, and this was kind of like the biggest like sort of jump scare for me in the movie. He just moves that chair that's in front of them, and it's like the sound design is really loud, and it kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And he just says to them something like, I know you're under there. Like, do you want to talk about this now? And so Racine is passed out, but Anaya comes up and very gingerly sits down to have a conversation with him. And so this is the reveal that it's Sterling K. Brown playing the father. I can't prove it, but I feel like he was inspired by Rami Malek giving this performance. He's just very like sort of nervy and like has that real intensity behind his eyes, and that's just who he was reminding me of most. And it's a very interesting performance because he's obviously this, like I said, he's kind of the big bad of the movie. We've been introduced to all of these horrible, violent things that he's capable of. Like, he could have played this much bigger and scarier, but he's just so like, he's so exacting, he's so sort of odd and just a little bit off, and you can see how he can switch really quickly from being charming to being sinister. But yeah, how did that reveal and that performance work for you?
Oh, it was so effective and so powerful and so terrifying. And I've been a fan of Sterling K. Brown for years, and I've seen a multitude of different performances from him where he's played the most tender human being to the most violent person ever. And here he kind of brings both of those elements to this performance, because when he's sitting down talking, we know that deep down he is a piece of shit human being. But we see a sense of maybe redemption from him. We're like, okay, maybe he's learned over these last few years, multiple years have passed, to where maybe he has changed. Maybe he has gotten better. Maybe he is willing to own up to the mistakes that he caused and everything. And I thought that this exchange between the two of them was so beautifully constructed and beautifully acted. And the dialogue was definitely my favorite element of it. Because, again, this is a very hard character to connect with. And what I really like about the movie is that it doesn't force you to feel that way in this moment. Because obviously when this sequence is playing out with just the two of them, we don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Because I was under the impression that, oh yeah, something bad is going to happen. But I was under the impression that maybe he has turned a new leaf. And
you don't know necessarily there, because I mean, he has this new wife and this family and everything.
Yes.
You don't know necessarily if he deeply regrets this and it's like the biggest mistake he ever made in his life, and not that it's forgivable, but yeah, you don't know what his approach is going to be here. And it's, like I said, you could easily make this just a pure villain performance. He could just be outright, antagonistic towards her from the get-go, but you see there like the humanity that tricked these women and his children into thinking that he's any semblance of a good person, and yeah, he's just like using all those tricks on Anaya, trying to convince her that he deeply regrets his issues, and he's changed so much since then.
Yeah, and
yeah, there's that moment also when she asks why he did this, why he set them on fire and everything, and he says he's something so chilling, something like she wouldn't let me hold her, and like, oh my, that
she
just
wouldn't
like,
let me comfort her.
Yeah,
that's the line. Yeah,
and just like the entitlement to having a woman's body and not getting it, resulting in trying to destroy her. and there's also a moment when he tries to convince her that the mother lied about that he only wanted to set her on fire. The kids weren't anywhere near it or anything, and she called them in there, and like it was kind of her fault. And this moment where there's a real like visual flare where you kind of like the flames sort of like kind of edge up around him, and there's a lighting change and stuff like that was really well realized and stuff. And I don't think that Anaya really buys that for a while, and she is as she's having this confrontation with him, she says that she's like, I'm pregnant, and this is there's going to be another person in this family, but like I don't want it to have anything to do with you and stuff like that. And that's where he really like tries to turn on the charm and like soften a bit and like okay, you're pregnant, like this is I hope to have a relationship with you and with that child, and like we can get past this. And he's definitely like trying to convince her, and then again another just like turn that goes sour right away. And he slaps her, and it is sort of like, it is a moment where I'm like, is the fact that she is pregnant, the fact that she's like a young-ish girl pregnant who is not married, like I think that's again a bit of a flare-up of like the religiosity coming through. Like that's likely also the culprit here for like oppressing this woman, or feeling like you kind of get the sense that he's definitely that kind of guy who is gonna reject anything that is improper. And like it's it's not explicitly stated or anything, but I think that comes through, that again, that toxic masculinity of like you've made this mistake and you should pay for it in a way by just getting pregnant. And then there's a fight scene ensues. Racine comes to, and they are both attacking their father and teaming up against him.
And this is where like the Tarantino inspirations really come in with how the fight. It reminded me a lot. Have you seen Death Proof? Have you seen that one?
I haven't, no.
So there's a fight sequence towards the end of that when all these women are teaming up to attack the antagonist, who's played by Kurt Russell. And we get the shot, like these rapid cuts where everyone is punching each other. And you kind of get that in this fight sequence. And I mean, I'm sure that Harris was definitely inspired by Tarantino. I haven't really looked into any inspirations in this material, but I'm sure that he had to have been one of them. I feel like a lot of people take inspiration from him. Mm-hmm. But this fight sequence was... I thought it was great, but there was a little part of me that's like, okay, it might be a little too over the top for my liking, but in the moment, I'm like, yeah, this is a very effective moment, because it's like, well, now both of these girls are finally coming head to head, and they're essentially now have the opportunity to do what they were instructed to do, kill their dad. And when they were at a point where I was like, oh my God, they're going to lose. They're not going to be able to kill him because he seems so unstoppable. But then they come together and they do it, and man, it's so good. It's really, really good stuff.
Yeah, there's the like split screen of both of them beating him up.
The split screen usage in this movie was pretty great too. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't the only time that we were utilized with that in this movie.
And that's, like I said, with the thought I had earlier in the film, like this is, now we are getting like the full brutality. You're seeing the punches land, and you're seeing the blood fly and everything, and the and I think it's more than earned. Like I said, I think a lesser film would have had that throughout the movie, and at this point you would have been a bit desensitized to it. It would have, or had to escalate and been even more violent or more over the top. So I think it's definitely like it's an action scene within a movie. Like it's not like grounded, realistic violence necessarily, but it's believable enough, and it's not so over the top for me. But it concludes with them pushing him into the bathtub, and very fittingly, they're going to set him on fire. Which again, you're like, yeah, absolutely. Like mm-hmm. I'm on board at this point. I have really no, Anaya at this point is not having any second thoughts here. Obviously, he deserves that and more by this point. And they throw the flame in, and then again, this movie really shocked me again, as we just get this quick little cut of the father reaching out, pulling Racine into the fire with him, and then we're just cutting to Anaya frantically running out of the house as it burns down, and that really got me. It really surprised me. I didn't think it was going to go there. I thought both our girls were going to get out.
My jaw was literally on the floor, and I was sitting in one of those reclined seats. I literally like sank down. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what? I thought they were gonna win. And they did to a degree, but at what cost? One of them had to be sacrificed.
That's vengeance, baby.
Fuck that. How did you feel about that? Do you think that felt earned, or were you just like, oh, this is just here for shock value?
I think it felt earned. Like you just said, like there needs to be a cost to extracting this kind of vengeance, and I think that if anything, maybe in the execution, it's like a little bit rushed. Like I would have liked maybe like one more moment with Racine.
It was very rushed.
Just to get get Racine's reaction, to get like a little bit more lingering on it. Like I said, it really happens like really quickly. Like it's just like she's getting pulled in and a cut to being outside. You know, obviously if there was any chance for Anaya to like leap in and rescue her, like we would have seen that. So, you know, it's just like I ultimately think it's effective though, because it's just like she's there 1 minute and then she's gone, and all we have is Anaya standing outside and walking away from the burnt down house, and yeah, it does kind of like hit you in the gut and leaves you in the lurch, and I think that's effective for losing someone like that. So, you know, we just get Anaya wandering off, and there is a voiceover that, you know, it just broke my heart. Like it said, like Anaya's by herself for the first time, like the first time in her life, that this twin that she came into the world with and is now, you know, it's almost like she's missing a part of herself. And again, this sort of like, this wraps up a little bit too quickly. Like maybe I could have used an extra beat just seeing Anaya, but all we really get is that, you know, she has her child, and she sort of says that, you know, that she's gonna raise this kid knowing that there are good things in the world, even for girls like you, you know, implying girls like us, like me and her, you know, sister Racine. And yeah, they was just like, I maybe could have taken like, could have almost like milked it more. Like it actually really didn't like live in that emotion at the end there. It kind of is just very matter of fact about like, this is sometimes what happens with, you know, a marginalized person like this seeking justice, and sometimes it doesn't work out, or you know, you lose one life as this new life is coming into the world. You know, it all I think it's all very fitting. It maybe just could have like played out even a little bit further. But how did it work for you?
I didn't love the last 5 minutes of this movie. Mm-hmm. I was really loving the movie, and then the rushed ending kind of took me out of it a little bit. I certainly
did you not like that she died at all, or it was about the execution of it?
The execution of it. It just felt way too quick to me. Like yeah. I definitely think that it was effective that one of them also perished as they accomplished their mission. Like they completed their mission, but unfortunately one of them also had to meet their end. And it made sense that it was Racine and everything. But at the same time, like, I would have wanted a much more emotional beat to it, because it just, yeah, like, she got pulled into the fire, then we got those flashes of them as kids, and then adults, and then various sequences during the movie, and then we get that voiceover, and then the movie ends, and I'm like, oh, okay, like, okay, bye, I guess, but I would have liked more. Just, like, another 5 to 10 minutes would have been nice, like, an extra scene or two.
Yeah, just like a couple extra beats in there, and like we could have gotten some resolution with the mother, like even if Anaya, whether it's like
I would have liked to see a resolution with the mother, and then I think maybe there would have been a really nice scene of her and her eventual child. Like I think that would have been a good way to wrap up the movie and everything.
Yeah, like and it could be as involved as, you know, like Anaya having her child and introducing it to the mother, or if the mother is, you know, like dies the second that the father does, because she senses that this mission is complete, like something like that. I was kind of expecting to get, and we just really don't want to kind of just
absolutely
leaves it there.
Absolutely, I agree.
I agree. But I mean, overall, I think that maybe the execution on the ending there could be a little bit stronger, but overall, I was like with this movie 100%, and I really think that just sort of an overarching thing is that I think that it's, you know, from what I can remember, I think that this movie is entirely made of Black characters, and that like there's just such a like sharp sort of, you know, it's said a lot that specificity creates universality, and I think that this is so like, you know, the director, like Aleshea Harris, is just, she creates like such specific characters here, and it lives within a certain, you know, culture, and it doesn't pander at all to like white audiences or anything like that. Like I think that's what really makes it stand out, because you feel like these characters are true people even when they're in these heightened like crazy circumstances. And I think just this little moments, like when they are first visiting their mom, and she has all of these women around her, like the tactile sound of like braiding her hair, and the way that just visually how the twins are presented. Yeah, I just think that it's like it's such a distinctive movie that like really, you know, owns itself really well, and creates like such a interesting vibe that I think is a lot of people can like really connect to.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Are there any things that you want to touch upon before we give our final rating and thoughts? Like, do you want to touch upon the cast? Because we've talked about them throughout the episode, but is there anything that you want to add about how good this cast is? Especially, could we talk about Kara Young? Could we just like begin the Kara Young like campaign and everything?
Yeah, I know we did talk about it throughout. We talked about some specific moments with Kara, and she sort of, it's very interesting because you kind of also get a bit of the parallel between her and the father. I think the lawyer mentions that to her too, that like you have the look in your eye like he does or something like that, and she sort of also walks that line of like being, you know, super charming one second and then being sinister or threatening another second. And yeah, I mean, Carrie Young just plays that so well, and so we've talked about her a little bit more, but I want to shout out Mallory Johnson too.
Yeah,
who's also
she's also
fantastic.
unbelievable too.
She brings so much heart to it. She's believable, and she's the one that's kind of like constantly riding that line and like getting pushed and pulled between, you know, what I think this movie doesn't back away from questioning like these girls definitely like they are owed something, like they've had their lives ripped away from them in such an intense way, and or not even like it's more for Anaya in particular, the fact that, you know, she didn't die in this fire, but it irrevocably changed her life, and it completely changes how she relates to her own body and to other people, and you know, the fact that something is stolen from her even more than Racine, because she's not as badly burned, like it's not as obvious, and yet she's the one who is so, you know, just willing to accept whatever she's given, and she has to go on that journey of asserting that like, no, I do deserve some justice here, and maybe vengeance wasn't the best way to find it, but you just see in every scene that Mallory Johnson is like playing that back and forth of like how much of this is deserved and how much of this is going too far.
Yeah. Absolutely. Great performances all around. Everyone was fantastic, big or small. Everyone had an effective turn. I also just want to commend Aleshea Harris for firing it on all cylinders with this being her directorial debut. She did a marvelous job, and I'm really excited to see more from her as a filmmaker, because she's dabbled in plays. That's where she began her career, and now she's transitioned into the film world. And I think that for this being a debut, tackling these topics, it's a pretty bold way to announce yourself in the world of film, and I think that she is going to make a remarkable talent going forward. I'm really excited to see more from her.
I'm so curious how this worked as a play, because it's really cinematic. So I you know, there are definitely like there's meaty scenes in there, but yeah, so much of it is the vibe and the style, and so yeah, I'm really impressed by what she did with this, and definitely want to see what she does going forward.
Couldn't agree more. Are there any last things you want to say before we rate the film?
No, I think that covers it. What's your rating for this one?
I gave Is God Is a 4-star. What about you?
Same here. 4 stars for me.
4 stars, mutual rating. Unfortunately, we would not have the same ratings for the next film. So, shall we get into the next film?
Yeah, go see Is God Is, and now we can move on to Obsession. We've got 1 review down and 1 to go. So this is a pretty major one. This is Curry Barker's Obsession. We've been very much anticipating this, so we can break it all down. Non-spoiler first, and then we can peel everything apart. Bryan, how did you feel about Obsession, and what was your experience seeing it?
So I've seen this film twice. I saw it for the first time a little over a month ago at the Philadelphia Spring Fest. This movie premiered at TIFF back in September, and I originally had it on my schedule, but due to certain things, I had to move it out of my schedule, and I wasn't able to see it while I was at the festival. But I heard so much acclaim and so much celebration towards this film that it immediately made me excited to see it when it eventually came out. So I had the opportunity to watch it a month ago. Let me just preface this right here and right now. when it comes to horror movies, I go into all of them with low expectations because I do like horror movies, but admittedly, this is not one of my favorite genres. It's towards the bottom for me. Now, I know that might throw some people off. I know that might piss some people off. Let me just say that I'm very picky with my horror. So some of the horror that may work for me might not necessarily work for you. So this one, I knew pretty much nothing about the movie. I didn't watch the trailers. I didn't really read any of the synopsis. I had a hunch that it dealt with an obsession, but I was like, an obsession with what exactly? So I didn't know what direction this was going to go. So when I sat down to watch it, the hype was through the roof. I was very excited. I was watching it at this super late night screen at this film festival surrounded by all these cinephiles, and I'm like, please live up to the hype. I have been waiting, let me do the math, 7 months, to watch this movie. And when the movie ended, I sat there and I was like, oh my God, like, this was everything that I heard it was and so much more. So, to put it lightly, I thought this film was a masterpiece. It's very rare for me to sing the praises about a horror movie. And when I say that a horror movie is great, that is such a big level of praise for me. I never get this excited about a horror movie, but this one really rocked my world. Curry Barker showcased that he is an exciting voice out there. He has dabbled before in entertainment on YouTube, doing sketch comedy, so this was his first foray into feature-length filmmaking, and oh my God, he does not pull any punches. This film rides a fine line between being super terrifying, but then also really cringy in its comedy, but then also really devastating. And that's a hard thing to pull off. I thought he pulled it off beautifully. The way that it commentates on love and finding yourself and all these other things is really impressive, but as great as the directing is, and as great as the writing is, and as great as the scares are and the comedy, the thing that I have been so excited to see celebrated and embraced is the lights out, show-making star turn from Indy Navarrete. Oh my God, this is one of the best performances that I have seen in years. Years. And she came from Superman and Lois, and I'm like, girl, where the fuck have you been? You're delivering like an all-timer Scream Queen performance in this. And yeah, I have so much to say about this movie. I adored it so much. I'm literally wearing a One Wish Willow t-shirt. I have a poster right here for the movie. Shout out to the reps at the Philly screening for this movie. Thank you for giving this to me. I love you very much. This episode's not sponsored by them, just to let everyone know.
Free ads.
But yeah, I was really blown away. And when I watched it again the second time, I'm like, yeah, this is really one of my favorite horror films in recent memory. And again, when I praise a horror film, that says so much, because I'm very critical of horror, probably more than most genres. This really works for me. I was really blown away. But my co-host here, before you give your opinion, let me paint a picture of when I found out how you felt about it. It's the middle of the night. My phone blows up. It's like 3 a.m. And I'm like, who's texting me at 3 a.m?
No, it wasn't. It was maybe midnight.
Let me pull it up right now. Maybe it wasn't.
I had a busy day. I had to answer my text at the end of the day.
Let me pull it up. Let me see when you texted me. It probably... Okay, fine. It was midnight. I saw the message at 3 a.m, okay? So I saw it at 3 a.m. I was fast asleep. I happened to go towards my phone for 5 seconds, and then I see Veronica sending me her letterbox rating, which I'm not going to spoil yet. And she was like, well, this is surely going to be a fun pod. And in the back of my head, I kind of wish that you didn't show me your rating, or at least put up your rating, because it would have been great to know, like, on air how you felt about the movie, because you could give in your expectations, but yeah, as you could tell, like, I was really just singing the praises about this movie for the last month, and I've been looking forward to talk about the movie with Veronica. So, what were your expectations, and how
I'm
did you
looking
feel
forward to
coming
talking
out?
about it. I
How
am
did you
definitely looking
feel
forward to
about
talking
it?
about it. Well, definitely going in. I mean, largely because of you, but it's not just you. Everyone, this is. I definitely had high expectations because the reaction this has been getting has been pretty overwhelming. Like, definitely highly positive, highly singing its praises. I don't think I saw a trailer at any point. I think I just knew the log line of making a wish for someone to fall in love with you, essentially, which is I'm like, okay, that's could be great, could be terrible. You don't really get anything from just that. So coming out of it, I like the movie. I liked it, but I have some reservations. So formally, the way that it's constructed and everything, I think it's really exciting, which bodes very well for Curry Barker, who I think Milk and Cereal is technically considered his debut. It's like a very I watched that, and I watched The Chair, another short that he did, because I was like trying to like crack this nut and see if I'm like missing something here with this guy. But so I think that's technically considered his debut, but that was like a super small self-produced kind of thing. So this is definitely this is essentially his studio debut and everything. So I think that formally it does things really well. Like I talked about with Hokum when we reviewed that, the like nuts and bolts of creating a scare within a scene are really strong in a lot of moments here. Like if you're gonna go through and analyze that, I think that it's really smart about a lot of that stuff, and letting the camera linger on darkness, having good sound design, interesting lighting, and playing with silhouettes. Like that was all. There were moments here that are definitely like indelible, like very very strong imagery and everything. But I think that the concept is stretched a little thin. It wasn't not quite weapons level for me. Like I've talked about that on the podcast, where like I was enjoying that movie thoroughly for about 2/3, and then it just kind of flips the tone, and I was not into it anymore. Obsession is more consistent than that, but I did feel it's sort of like desperate to escalate as the movie goes on, and I enjoyed it at its subtler moments when it's a little more low key and more realized about the what are the dynamics here with this wish and the relationship. And the movie it actually reminded me most of was kind of Hereditary, which I have also talked about on this pod as not being one of my favorites, because in that same way where like I'm fully on board for the ghostly family drama that's setting up, but that movie gives way to Toni Collette on the ceiling chopping her own head off, and like that's by that point I'm a little checked out when things get that kind of extreme. And it's Bryan, what you said and what everyone is saying, that Indy Navarrete she is just as amazing as you've heard. But I think that she is so much more impressive when she's able to operate within a scene with a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer. And I think that she gets to do a lot of both. Like that is both in there. But I'm just more, there are certain aspects of this movie that I'm way more interested, way more into. And then there's a lot of stuff that I'm not so much. And I don't know that it unfolds the way that I would have liked it to. And so I am still positive on it. I recommend it to you if you're a horror fan, especially for Indy's performance. Like that is top tier. If you at all care about a horror scream queen kind of performances, like this is definitely an all-timer. But I am not in it's a masterpiece territory like Bryan and like most others. Like I definitely think that I am in the minority here. I think everyone else really is hailing this as the next big thing. So that's where I'm at. It's gonna be a good discussion, but we can break it down into more specifics.
I feel like I'm partially to blame for this. I
overhyping
overhyped it. I really overhyped it.
Even if you had said nothing, literally everyone else is pretty much on the same page, so I would have felt that anyway.
I know, but like your podcast co-host being so enthusiastic about it probably made you even more excited, and now you're like, well, that's good that he liked it, but he's somewhat wrong. So yeah, let's break it down. A lot to dissect, a lot to unpack about this movie. We will try to be specific with what we talk about. We're not going to talk about everything, otherwise we'll be here for 5 hours. But we will do our best. So let's talk about the way that this film opens up. So the movie's main protagonist is a character named Bear, who's played by Michael Johnson. he is very reclusive. He's very shy. He's pretty introverted and everything. There's just something a little, something very relatable about him. We learn in the literal first scene that he has romantic feelings for his friend Nikki, who's played by Indy Neverred, and he hopes to admit his feelings towards her. Like, he is practicing ways of being like, so Nikki, here's the thing. I really like you. I see you more than a friend, blah, blah, blah. And like, from this introduction alone, we could just tell, like, we see a bit of ourselves in him, because everybody, whether they like to admit it or not, has had romantic feelings for a friend. They would hope to have gone far and to see where that takes them and everything. But Bear is so certain that he has to tell Nikki how he feels, or else it's going to sit with him and it's going to cause him so much pain if he doesn't just let out this shell and express to her that he loves her and everything. So he's thinking to himself, what am I going to do to set this up? How am I going to tell her how I feel? So while he is just going about his day and everything, he decides, I'm going to buy her a gift, because she talks about how she lost this very special necklace to her in the first sequence where they're talking and everything. And he comes across this novelty toy called the One Wish Willow, where the objective is you say a wish, you break it, and it comes true. Now, obviously, when Bear looks at this, he's like, this is a silly little gimmick and everything. Like, there's no way that something like this is even true. But before we get to that revelation, this opening just has a lot happening. We have this conversation with Bear and his friend, Ian.
Ian is his friend.
Yeah, we have.
Ian is very, I don't know, a bit more like bro-y. He's kind of just telling him, like, just tease her a little bit.
I've known many people in my life like Ian. I could say that. One of my best friends kind of reminded me of Ian, and I was like, oh boy, this hits a little too close to home of whenever I've opened up about having crushes on my friends and everything. But yeah, we have that whole sequence happen. Bear comes home and his cat is dead. Like, so much is happening in this opening alone.
His cat got into some pills and died there, yeah. So
yes.
Dealing with that.
Yes, so much craziness just in this opening alone. And we're all like, what tone is this going to evoke? Like, what direction are we going to go with this movie? And then we get into when we first meet Nikki in person. They all go out for a drink at this bar for trivia and everything. She calls him before that
and says that they all work together. She calls him before and says that she's
that was going to be my next thing that I was going to say. Mm-hmm. They all work together at this music store, and you could tell that they all have this very tight friendship and everything. They're very open with each other, and they're very comfortable with one another. But yeah, what were we gonna say? Were you gonna say the same thing? Or?
No, before he goes out with them, he's leaning towards not going because he's upset about the cat and everything. But he gets a call from Nikki that she is planning on quitting their job that they all share together. So it's like, he's kind of feeling like time is running out to get that across to her that he has feelings for her.
And this is essentially like a way to distract him from the loss of his cat and everything. So yeah, we get this introduction where we're being introduced to all these characters, particularly Bear, who is our protagonist through and through, and then Nikki, of course. And when we meet Nikki, we see that she is full of so much life. She has a very fun energy to her. She's very funny and likable and charismatic, and she's so beautiful. I mean, it's like, how do you not fall in love with a girl like her? Like, it makes sense why Bear really has these feelings towards her, and he feels safe with her, and he feels like he can open up to her, and she honestly opens up to him about things too. But it's like, am I willing to toss aside this friendship for something more? Like, if I tell her how I feel, like, what's gonna happen? Is she going to reciprocate the feelings back, or is she gonna be like, I don't want anything to do with you, so fuck off? So for you, how did you feel about this introduction and setting up these characters before we get into what sets up the story in stone?
Yeah, I think it's pretty, like, it's, a well-established friend group. I think you do get the sense that maybe Bear and Ian and Sarah is the other girl who works with them, that maybe they're all a bit closer, and like Nikki is sort of, I don't know, maybe newer to working there or something. Like, you kind of get the sense that they've been friends a little bit longer. But that all comes through. They have a fun trivia night at the bar that they go to on a regular basis. And you definitely get the sense. I don't remember if it's earlier on or if it's later after, the wish happens and everything. But at some point, Nikki says something about Bear being kind of a closed book, and the idea, like, I get the sense that they're friends and they talk a lot. Like we said, they go out together after work and everything. But I don't know that you get the sense that they've like deeply connected in some way where they're like they're not lifelong friends and they don't like know each other in and out. It's kind of like they have this solid friendship and he's just looking to further that. And I think that's important to like keep in mind moving forward, because you don't get the sense that he knows this girl like very, very well. A lot of the movie plays on the idea of him just having a sort of projecting his own feelings onto her, and that maybe they never really had this deep connection one way or the other. So I think that all comes across clearly enough with their introduction that and she is like she's very charming, she's very friendly, she's got kind of like she can hang and she can like tease people and stuff, and it's all like it's very clear why he would like her, and
making fun of a man for wanting a pina colada, like what's wrong with that?
Who doesn't want a pina colada? Yeah. I don't know if I would trust it from like a dive bar, but
I would never get a pina colada at a dive bar, trivia bar, wherever the hell they are.
Yeah.
But I admire the drink of choice. I admire that.
Absolutely, yeah. Who doesn't want one? So
exactly.
So that all works for me. And then we get like we said. So Bear has promised Ian he's not going to reveal his feelings to Nikki while they're like all having a night out, and like he's like don't ruin trivia night basically.
I like that whole sequence where they're talking but they're just moving their mouths, and Nikki's like, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
You're just going nah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to be a little bit subtle, but it's not really working. And like we said, like
subtlety
I think
is not either of their strongest suits. Let's be honest.
No. Bear is feeling more of the pressure, like because Nikki is going to quit, and it's just kind of sort of feeling like a malaise, like it's time for her to move on from this job and possibly from these friendships and these relationships.
She wants to pursue her passion in writing, because that's what she's dreamt of being for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so sort of in a chance to get her alone and have this conversation, Nikki wants to go home and the other two are going to stay out. So Bear offers to drive Nikki home, and he essentially chickens out. He does not take, what is several opportunities that he could be forthright and tell her his feelings like he was planning to. I think at some point she's asking about Sarah, the other friend in the group, and if he likes her, and there's sort of a feeling there that like maybe she's discussed this with Sarah or something, and at some point I think she does like flat out ask him like, do you like me, like is that what's happening here, because he's acting a little cagey.
That is that he calls her Freaky Nikki, which she does not like.
Which Ian said to like that. Yeah, Ian said to neg her and kind of call her that, and he's like she hates that, but so definitely, which again kind of going against her wishes and what he knows about her to try to provoke some reaction out of her, that kind of thing. And so she's like, do you like me? He is flat out asked the question and does not own up to it. He just says like, I like you as a friend, like you're a really good friend, and doesn't take the opportunity. She walks away to walk into the house, and then if you want to talk about how the One Wish Willow comes into this.
Yeah, so he is just so pissed off of himself. He's like, I am such a fucking coward. He doesn't say those exact words, but he's really frustrated with the fact that he literally had the window to be like, Nikki, I like you, but he chickened out. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to bring it up or how to say it, so he's just like, what am I supposed to do now? And then he looks back at this One Wish Willow, and he's like, I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the whole world. Snaps the thing, and he's like, well, nothing is happening. And then all of a sudden, she's just standing there on the porch and walks up to him. And then you don't know right away what's going on. You don't know if like, oh, it actually worked, or if, oh, maybe she's trying to say, oh, I like you, Bear, even though she posed the question. So you're at this rate, you're questioning what exactly is going on. You're kind of laughing at everything too, and she's like, I must be super drunk. Oh my god. Like I think I had way too much to drink. And you're just like, is she actually drunk? Or did this one wish will work?
Well, I mean, I think we as the audience know exactly what happened
Yes,
here,
of
but
course, of
obviously
course.
Bear is not gonna think that. He's not gonna think that it works. So yeah, for him, and it's not as like yeah, there's that really cool shot of her just like in shadow on the porch, when this change has allegedly happened. But it's not as simple as just like she's all over him or something. And it's kind of it's this was like maybe one of the most interesting parts of the movie for me because she had mentioned during their normal conversation before that she's like, yeah, when I like someone, like nobody knows about it. I'm like very low key and don't show it outwardly or anything. And so when she walks back over to the car, like you're kind of getting this like push pull where you're almost thinking like, okay, we as the audience know something has snapped in her and she now loves him because of the wish, but we're like, okay, I'm like, okay, is that actually Nikki presenting how she is when she likes someone? Because she's kind of still trying to be like keep trying to talk to him, but trying to be low key about it, trying to just like keep the conversation going, and she's just acting very erratically, and it's almost like okay, something is like shifting in her, and like she doesn't know how to deal with it, and it's like coming out in all these weird ways, and so yeah, this is the start of Indy's fantastic performance because it's like I said, it's not as simple as just she's all over him and wants to jump on him or kiss him or anything. Like she's working it out in all these like subtle different ways, and eventually just asks to she just kind of gets back in the car. She's like, listen, I don't want to go home, my dad is dying and I'm upset about it, can I just go home with you? And Bear is like, okay. Like I think he's pretty, he doesn't really know what happened or what changed, but he's like, all right, like I'll take you home with me and we'll see what happens from there. And yeah, then they are home. She's still like, she's acting so unsettled and seems to kind of snap in and out of different things. And she asks him to come and lay with her, and they eventually start kissing. They start hooking up. I'm sure Bear is like, this is exactly what I wanted. I don't even have to say anything. And that you definitely get that sense. And then she has this moment of like this like freak out while they're kissing, and I think she says, I thought I saw something. So obviously we are getting the sense from us as an audience that this wish has snapped something within her. It's something is happening beneath the surface, and this is not obviously something. This is something supernatural. So yeah, were you surprised how that all developed, or how she reacted like right after the wish?
Yeah, I was, because in my head I'm like, oh man, like the wish is actually working. But then when she had that sudden freak out, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? Like, is it like a temporary like effect on her to where the wish works for like a short period of time and then she's just ignited back to reality? And Bear is like, you made it seem like I was taking advantage of you, and she's like, no, 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 you're not doing that at all. And we'll touch upon all of that because I'll just say this, not to jump ahead or anything. There's been a lot of discourse surrounding this movie in terms of like who the real villain of this story is, and we'll touch upon that as we progress along with this review. But this moment definitely surprised me because I was just like, wait a minute, like what is she freaking out about? Like, we obviously don't see anything as the audience, but clearly there's something that she is freaked out about, like freaked out about the situation, or freaked out that maybe something is in the room with the two of them and everything. And I was like, so what? This was where I was like, so what's the deal with this wish Willow? Like, clearly it came true, but is it a long-term thing, or was it just a temporary thing? Like, at this stage, we don't know exactly the lasting effects of this toy and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just kind of getting thrown into it. And this is the part where I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. Like, let's see how this unfolds. And so where she stays over, she sleeps over for the night. I believe this is when he wakes up and she has made a memorial with his dead cat in the kitchen.
Yes.
Which, again, don't know why the dead cat was like still laying around somewhere, but she's now put the dead body in like a pile with candles.
I could have sworn
and
he
everything.
threw away the cat because he put the cat in the trash bag.
Yeah. well, she dug it up and made this little memorial for him, and he's like, okay, like it's moving on from that, and they both walk into work together the next day. So Ian is like, oh my god, something happened, like you came in together, and this is a really cool moment where Ian and Bear are having the conversation about what happened. He's like Nikki is like, we went home together, but like all we did was kiss, and then she like freaked out, and she's like, I think she's going through something, and you're seeing them have this conversation. Nikki is just like in the blurry background. You can just tell that she's like staring at them completely. She is obsessed, one might say. And so you're and cool moments like that where I'm not expecting like any scare or anything, but you're just kind of unsettled by watching what she's doing in the background. So I think they have that conversation. He leaves work that night. Bear is at home on the phone talking to Ian about like what he's gonna do about it and stuff. And then this was another scare moment I really liked, where we're seeing him on the phone, and then in the background you see her shadow is standing outside the window, and you just see it move towards the door. Again, subtle, nice, cool. I like that. Let's wish we had some more of that. But he opens the door for her, and this is like, again, a really, really cool moment of direction, of lighting, and of her performance, because she's like standing in shadow, but we just see like her eyes sort of sparkling, she just looks like, she looks supernatural. She looks like she is some sort of demon.
Cool
or
shot though, like, oh my god, so well lit and so well constructed. Like, you brought up before that there are many cool lingering shots in this film, and that one, what's so cool about that moment to me, and I took note of this when I first saw the movie, is that I feel like if anyone else was at the helm, they would have added like some eerie music underneath it. But there was like a good amount of time where it was just the dialogue. There was no music underneath it, which made it all the more effective. We were like, are we supposed to be haunted by this? Are we supposed to be moved? Like, how are we supposed to be feeling in this moment? Because I feel like, music could really change how a sequence should play out by making it fun, effective, terrifying, depressing, what have you. And I think that Curry's decision to not add anything in that moment, just let the characters talk, and then the music slowly coming in as we reach the tail end of that sequence, made it all the more effective. For me, at least. I don't know if you felt that way, but that's how I was feeling in that moment.
Yeah, I do, and I think that that's really bolstered by her performance, because this is where you're understanding, like, okay, she's acting so erratically that you just kind of feel like at any moment she could scream or get violent or cry, and none of that has happened yet, but you're kind of getting the sense that like this is she's
we're
becoming
building
really
up to
unhinged.
something. We're building up to something. Yeah.
So we get that scene of her out on the porch, and this is a good example of like a good exchange with the dialogue here about taking advantage. He says something like, I hope you didn't feel like I took advantage of you, and she says like I don't know. I don't remember how exactly the exchange happens, but it's sort of like taking it, like they're on different pages. Like she's like, no, you didn't. He's like, I didn't take advantage. Like, just the way that I'm butchering it right now, but the way that it goes back and forth is like, okay, there is sort of a question here of like consent, and who he wants to make it clear that was not his intention, and even though they're on the same page, it is kind of leaving the question lingering out there, like is someone taking advantage here? And we don't we don't necessarily know all the details because there's this possession at work, but just the back and forth there of starting to like see that idea of like this is not something that Nikki, like, she is in this very vulnerable state. So, from there, I think that we kind of get just sort of a usual dating montage. Like, we just see them, all over each other at work and going out on dates. And, it kind of seems like he's gotten his dream here. And then I think that the next scene is them having that dinner in the restaurant, and he's talking about wanting to be a food critic. And, they're having like repartee back and forth. And
we have a nice montage leading up to that, and then just when you brought up of like how she could snap at any point, this is where it begins.
In the restaurant, he gets a phone call from Ian and leaves to take it, and Ian says that Sarah has said that Nikki is lying about her dad having cancer.
Yep.
And there's been a question up to now that like, isn't she like estranged from her dad, and like why would it be that big a deal? And another great moment where he like sort of ducks around a wall to take the call, and we just sort of see her get up from the table and like slowly like
Oh my
lean
God.
over to keep an eye on him, to watch him. Like she doesn't even want him out of sight. And again, you're like, is she gonna do something here, or no? She just like goes and sits back down and is just like, observing. And then the first like public freak out, I guess, comes here where he's questioning like, why did you lie about this thing with your dad? And it's kind of like this is the first moment where you're seeing like she can't handle anything being like unpleasant between them, and like if she's displeasing him in any way, she just like can't take it and starts getting up and screaming in the middle of the restaurant. And again, the way that like her face shifts from just being like this happy smiley kind of person into like she really like contorts her face in an interesting way that you just know that like this is something is deeply wrong here. How did you how did that moment play for you?
I thought we were having a nice date. It was so good. Like that was really the first moment where I'm like, oh, she's literally about to deliver like an all-timer performance, because the fact that she could shift to that like that was so impressive to me, because 5 seconds ago we saw her in a very normal state of mind, and then as soon as this question comes up from Bear, Nikki just like the possessed Nikki comes out into full play, and she just doesn't want to be like immersed in that depressing matter. She just wants to focus on everything with her little precious Bear, and it was a really impressive shift. It was like, oh, like despite it being a brief sequence and everything, like this was obviously the start to what we were going to get for the rest of the movie, and I really liked that sequence a lot. And yeah, I'm still like processing everything, even though I've seen the movie twice. I'm still like trying to process everything, because it left such an overwhelming feeling for me that even still a month after seeing it, I'm still trying to put the pieces together of how I feel about everything. But I really loved this sequence because, again, this is one of the moments where we were like, okay, like the wish really came into full play, and because of that, it's like it makes it all the more intense from here on out.
Yeah, and then there are just like a series of unsettling events where, it's kind of seems like she's all but like moved in with him. They're like spending every day together. There's this moment where he wakes up in the middle of the night, and she is another great, composition shot. She is just like in the corner of the room in shadow, and you can tell that she's there when the camera is lingering there, and he's just like, Nikki, and she's like, I'm just watching you sleep. Like, I'm just, enjoying watching you sleep. You're so cute. And again, I think in that moment, he just like kind of like says, all right, and goes back to sleep. Like this is also kind of a fine line that will come up throughout the movie. He's such a passive character. And like, that's the point, that he is, he's too chicken to talk about his feelings with her, and he's too scared to screw any of this up because he feels like he's gotten his dream. But like, it is kind of hard at times. There are some moments that like strain credulity. Like, would you just roll over and go back to sleep when your girlfriend is creepy staring at you from the corner, and that all these strange things are happening? Like, there are, I maybe not at this point yet, but it does get to a point in the movie where I'm like, it kind of is hard to stick with Bear as a just like conscious character. Like, at some point he's like, it becomes a bit much. So we got the watching him sleep moment. We get I think the next day he's leaving for work, but she's off that day, and so they're having this conversation. She has this moment where she like, he's kind of like upset with her, and is kind of like, it's because he's like, what happened last night, why were you doing that? And she's like, he's like, well, let's not do that. And she cut his hair while he was sleeping. He's like, let's not do that from now on. And again, she feels like she's displeased him, and so she can't handle that, and she starts getting all worked up and stuff. And she has this moment where she like contorts her face into this really unnatural smile, and she's like, how's that? Is that better? And it's just, you're obviously getting the sense that like she is just existing to like shape herself into a form and a person that he is like gonna be happy with moment to moment. And so you're obviously getting the sense that things are deeply fucked up here. And then he goes to leave for work, and the door is completely taped shut with duct tape. And
how much duct tape was spent on that? Like, do you know, duct tape is very expensive. It's not cheap at all. So did Bear just happen to Did Bear just happen to have all that duct tape, or like what went into that? I'm wondering that.
I know that's almost more concerning that he had that much duct tape lying around.
Yeah,
And
come on,
yeah,
Curry, answer that question. Release the duct tape cut.
and so he just like yanks the door open with the duct tape and walks out like, okay. And I mean, you can tell that like he knows that this is not going well, like this is not normal, but again, he's just so like passive to do anything about it, that he just sort of goes along with it. She watches him leave and like pees herself as he's walking out the door, and so you're like, okay, well, this is where it's going. And so we get him at work with Sarah, the other friend, and so we learn that she's applying for art school. Her father is played by Andy Richer in kind of a cool little role.
What a great little
it's like so
role.
random.
Love that man. Every time I see him in something, I just think of his moment in Elf where he's like, "What's more vulnerable than a peach?" Like that's the thing that I think of right away. I mean, of course, like him being Conan's sidekick is an automatic like getter for me, but like. Yeah, that was a delightful surprise seeing him in a very small role, because like everybody else in this movie is unknowns, relatively unknowns. And then we have this pretty established name in the film, and it's like, oh, it's nice that was a get for Curry Barker and everything.
And I love when like a comedian pops up and he's not just like comic relief or anything. Like he's just a normal
like
character
Conan
in
and If I Had Legs.
Yeah.
Speaking of Conan and everything.
Yep. Yeah, so we're learning she's applying to art school. There's the moment together where they're having lunch, and Bear opens the lunch that Nikki has made for him.
God. Oh my god.
Would you like to reveal the note that was attached to the sandwich?
Yes. So first in that lunchbox, there were pictures. There was a picture of her, I believe, and then there was a picture that she took while he was sleeping. Mm-hmm. And then there's a little note saying "My Little Food Critic." And then on the other side of the note, it said something. I wish I remember the exact words, but it was
Sarah reads it. What's the verdict on Cat?
Yeah, what's the verdict on Cat? And she's like, what does that mean? And we are like, what does that mean? And then we're like, no. So in that moment when that happened,
yeah, right.
When I saw the movie for the first time, there was someone in the theater with me, and like, oh my god, the loud scream, like someone, that like loud, uncomfortable laugh you do when you're in the situation where you just don't know how to convey your emotions. So like this person behind me just like let out the loudest laugh, and it felt so uncomfortable. And then you just heard someone yell, "Get the fuck out of here!" with that. So, as Veronica said, the note said, "What is the cat?" And then we see that the sandwich was made from Cat. The cat Sandy. And when Bear realizes that, and then we just hear Sarah keep on saying, "What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?" And then he just pukes. And oh my god.
He says it's an inside joke, like while his head is in the garbage pail.
Oh my god. Such an uncomfortable moment. What were we going to say? Sorry.
For me, I'm just a little bit like, okay, I get the watching him sleep, the taping the door. Like she is possessed by this obsession with him, and like why does that lead you to cook a cat? Like to me, that just kind of seems like an escalation for escalation's sake. Like I don't necessarily know that anything about the wish or possession, like what leads to that. Like it kind of just feels like it's a moment to be like, this is really fucked up and getting out of control. To me,
that's totally fair. In the moment when that happened, I was like, I could see people being very like thrown off by the sequence to be like, oh, this is clearly just here for shock value, and now it's going a little too far and leaning a little into the absurdity of it all. It's like, okay, like yeah, she's obsessed with him and everything, but why would she cook the cat? Like making the memorial is one thing, but cooking the cat? Like, why? You really think that Bear would have liked that? Yeah,
and it gives more instances for it to be like, Bear, you're either like I think we're supposed to get the sense that he's aware that this is all so bad, but he just is not willing to do anything. But you kind of get the sense of are you stupid at some point? Like this is so clearly like out of control, and it just kind of feels like it's hard to follow a lead character who is just not making any decisions, not really. I don't think he has. We're not even. I wish we had gotten more of him like reckoning with this, like having, I don't think you're seeing him like really realize that this is bad. It's just he has the same reaction to that as he does to the more minor things she does. So it's for me. Just the way that everything starts ramping up here starts to get a little bit iffy for me.
Oh yeah, totally understandable. That's absolutely fair, and yeah, like the further obsession just keeps on escalating into something even crazier and crazier.
Well, this is when Ian invites him to a boys' night, and he's saying like, if this is all healthy with Nikki, then like you can be away from her for a night, and like that should be totally fine.
Yes.
And so he's like, okay. And so I believe before he walks into the house that night, that's when he decides to call the number that's on the One Wish Willow box. And so yeah, he gets this kind of like disaffected voice on the phone that is like
how did you feel about this sequence with the very like monotone person on the other end of the line and everything?
I was like fine with this.
We can't do that, can't do this. Kind of reminded me of like the odd exchange in Beau Was Afraid, where Beau was calling the guy who found his mother, and then it was Bill Hader's role and everything, where he was like very monotone. Now, obviously, it doesn't escalate into craziness like that, where the person on the other end kind of like raises their voice and everything. But it gave me vibes of that, where you could tell on the other end, the One Wish Willow people aren't like they're not taking anything seriously in this moment.
Yeah, it was just giving like disaffected customer service representative, which is like, that's funny that this mystical thing that actually works is just I like the hint at there being some lore there. Like there's this person who answers this phone and works for this company that makes these mystical things that actually work. So that worked well enough for me. It was I think that if we had I didn't want to dig more into the lore, but I like the hint that there was something there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the movie would have been a little tainted for me if we had gone into the lore of the One Wish Willow, because the thing that I really appreciated about this movie is that we're not spoon-fed with all these answers, and I think that if we had been dumped with this like exposition dump about like, oh, the One Wish Willow, here are the origins of them and then how they work and yada yada yada, I just don't think it would have worked as strongly. I think the mystery of it all is the mystery of this device makes it all the more effective. For me, I don't love being dumped with all this exposition unless it felt earned, and I don't think that even if it was well written and well established, I just don't think the movie's intention was to answer what the point of this One Wish Willow was and where it came from and who's in charge of it and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, and I think the key moment here on the phone is just him asking like, so is her love real? Like, does Nikki actually love me? And the customer service rep like doesn't really give an answer. He's like, well, if it's like if it's real to you and if it's it's happening, then so that's in the moment. Like to me, that's that's obviously the point of what's going on here. And there was a little sense of like, you took this long to ask that question. Like, obviously, I think it's been pretty clear for a while now that, like, this, he's calling the number. He obviously believes in the wish at this point. So, it's a bit like, yeah, this is the question to ask here. And then we get a moment where they're like, this is what actual Nikki is like feeling right now or something. It's just her screaming. And, the mechanics of that maybe a little bit odd, but I didn't mind it because it's it's supernatural. Like it's definitely, we're in that realm like squarely at this point. So
yeah,
that worked enough for me. We'll see how that goes moving forward. But so the call there, and then he walks into the house, turns the lights on. She has stayed in the exact same spot all day waiting for him to come home, and she is covered in bodily fluids and has been standing there, and yet she still like has that chipper happy persona on for him. And he's like, okay, this is not like she's like, oh, okay, you're right, I should clean myself up. She goes to get in the shower, and through the wall while she's showering, he's telling her, Ian invited me to a boys' night, and so I think I'm gonna go. That's okay, right? And really good sound design here. Like there's a moment where she turns off the shower head. That's like it's like really loud, and it's it's a bit of a jump scare. And and like I said, because of what we've established with her so far, it's kind of like she could do anything at any moment. Like, is she gonna, kill herself in there? Is she gonna come out here and kill him, or is she just kind of gonna have this really like heightened, emotional reaction to it? And so she says, well, I can go with you, and something about like I think Sarah had mentioned it to her already. So he's kind of like, okay, what can I do? And so he brings her to the party at Ian's, which his Ian is not happy about, but he's like, Sarah told her, what could I do? It's a plausible enough excuse. And then their Jenga game does not go so well.
Oh, you never, ever, ever play Jenga drunk and at a party. You never, ever do that. It's always bad
I think
when
that's
you
a
do
perfectly
that.
fine time to play it, but
Yeah.
I'm not possessed.
Oh, my God. And Nikki in this moment, and like, Indy does so much with her performance in this sequence. She is very funny. She is very cringy. She is scary. You are unsure of what Nikki is going to do because, again, at this rate, it's like, is Nikki going to be calm and laid back, or is she going to be full on wacko? So during the game, she recites a very violent retelling of Hansel and Gretel, which horrifies everybody around, and everyone's like, what is the deal with this girl and everything? And then there's a point where Bear swaps his seat, and she's like, no, stay next to me. Oh, my God. I not to drop information and everything, I will say this. There was one time years ago when I was in college, and I dated this girl who like gave off the same vibe, and I was just like, oh my God, this hits a little too close to home. I'm like, oh no, it's like Curry Barker took this little segment because there was a time where I went to a party involving drunk Jenka, and it didn't end well, and that's all I'll just say about that. The rest you'll find out on our Patreon down the road. But
I hope it ended better than this.
Well, yes, it did. Nothing chaotic happened and everything there, but it was just like, anyway, back to the movie. So he moves his seat, and then after she does her whole crazy rampage with his story and everything, and just like saying this story and what have you, Bear draws a block, and the block says, kiss the person to his left, which is Sarah. And we get this moment, and then it cuts to Nikki doing the literal Killers of the Flower Moon Leonardo DiCaprio frown.
Oh, no, I thought it was the Florence Pugh frown.
From what?
From everything. That's what the face she always makes.
That's true. But as soon as I saw, as soon as the frown, made its headlines on social media and everything, everyone just kept putting the Leonardo DiCaprio frown next to it and everything. Yeah, the Florence Pugh, but I did immediately think of, the Killers of the Flower Moon frown. It's just like...
Or Grumpy Cat.
Yeah, Grumpy Cat. That's literally what it was. And she does not like this at all. She's like, no one is going to kiss Bear except for me. So she literally walks over to Sarah, pulls back the chair, and just sits there, and then kisses Bear instead. And then all of a sudden, screams and goes crazy, similar to the first night of when she was under the spell. And she stabs her face with a broken bottle, and everyone is terrified. Everyone is freaked the fuck out, as they should be. And then we go to what happens at the house, and Nikki threatens to kill herself so that Bear could join her in bed. Is this the scene where she screams "stay" from the top floor, or was that earlier in the movie? We didn't bring up that moment and everything.
That happens earlier, I think. That's just a moment where he just literally wants to get out of bed, and she screams and "stay" in his face and everything. And she attacks herself with the bottle. They take her to the hospital and stuff, and you kind of get those little clips of Ian and Bear arguing about it, and
she's dancing and doing her own little thing.
Yeah, and then we end up with Nikki and Bear at home, and they have this argument that I think it gets into some of the interesting stuff here, but she says he's asking her are you Nikki, and is Nikki happy? Does Nikki actually like me? And so you're kind of getting the sense here that this is Nikki is in there, but she's kind of being possessed, and he's saying to her, like, just be Nikki, don't be this, like, constructed person who is freaking out and is obsessed with me, and just, like, be the person that you were before this. And she's like, I can't be, like, I can be anything that you want me to be. And the idea of, like, where does this personhood start? Like, she's not her own person, she is just trying to become this construction of who Bear wants to have as a girlfriend. And that's where that, sort of what the fuck moment where she gets, like, kind of, like, pulled away really fast and, like, into the shadows, and
walking backwards.
Yeah, walking backwards. And I'm like, is that the real Nikki, like, kind of fighting back? And it's not made explicitly clear, but from here on out, when going back to just her, like, slamming herself with the bottle at the party, from there, I'm just a little bit like, again, the whole, dragging Sarah out of the way so that she's the one to kiss Bear. I'm like, that totally fits in line with, her programming at this point. Like, that totally makes sense. I'm like, the escalation to just, I'm gonna smash myself with a bottle, and, I'm gonna, like, this fight is interesting, but it ultimately devolves into, like, a lot of yelling back and forth, and I don't know that there's, like, a ton to pull out of it, but they end up, again, it's like, not Bear doesn't make any, put his foot down at any point here, or is like, this is too intense, you've hurt yourself, like, anything. We just cut to them in bed together again, and that's when he gets the text from Sarah about wanting to see him in the middle of the night. And so Sarah says, like, come and meet me in the park. He's like, I can't. Nikki's asleep next to him, and she's like, you have to, or else I'm going to come over. And so he slowly creeps out of bed, trying not to wake Nikki up. And then that's the moment when we hear her talking, but she's still asleep. And it's essentially Nikki just saying, like, kill me, please. And he's like, what, like who, like, where are you? Like, are you, we're getting the sense that, like, Nikki's consciousness is in there, but it's being sort of, like, oppressed by this demon, possession, whatever it is.
Yeah, this possessive side of her is fast asleep, and she feels that this is the perfect opportunity to just put this all to an end.
Yeah, and so she's just asking to die, and I think that's when he has the line that's like, is being with me so bad? And that's a really good insight into, like, his psychology, where it's like, not the fact that her consciousness is being oppressed and she's not in control of her own body and she's watching herself doing all these horrible things, but, like, the fact that he's like, well, isn't being my girlfriend enough? Like, obviously that's so beside the point that it's, like, not even funny. So that's like the one moment we get from Bear where I'm like, okay, we're seeing, like, how sinister this all really is from his point of view. Like, he really is just going along with this woman having absolutely no agency over her own body and her own life because it's benefiting him in some way. And, so I wish we'd gotten a little more of that. I wish there had been more of a revelation from him, or some sort of change in him, or just exploring that further. Or if he at some point was asserting, like, yeah, this is fucked up, but, like, it's working for me and I'm gonna go along with it. Like, we kind of just get nothing else from him, like, from here on out for me. So how did that, what did you think was going to happen when he's like, okay, I got to sneak out and see Sarah? Like, obviously that's a recipe for trouble, but.
Yeah, I knew something creepy was about to be brewing. And going back to that whole sequence of where he was like, is being with me so bad? It just comes to show how, despite him clearly recognizing that the wish that he made was a huge mistake, he's like, wow, she really doesn't want to be with me. So he's like, fuck this at one.
Well,
he's like,
it has nothing to do with him. It's like, he's besides the point. She's possessed in her own body. Like, that's the fucking issue.
And he doesn't recognize that. He's just like, well, and then he just walks away. He's like, fuck this and fuck you. And then he walks out, and then we get to the Sarah stuff, and we learn a lot of stuff in this sequence. A lot of stuff. We learn, the big thing that we learn is that Ian and Nikki had been in a casual sexual relationship for years before Bear admitted to his attraction to Nikki. And this This moment didn't entirely surprise me. I like there were a lot of people like even though I love the movie and I've said at the top like I adore this movie and everything, that moment didn't surprise me because I'm like something had always felt off of when Ian was like, "Don't tell Nikki how you feel," because initially I was like, "Oh, he's just protecting him as a friend," but deep down it's like, "Oh no." It's because they had some sort of relationship with each other. So
And I think it explains away some of like early on why they weren't more shocked by like her explicitly saying like, yeah, I don't think of Bear that way, and then all of a sudden they're dating because they're like, Sarah says like, we thought she was just doing this to get back at Ian, like she's just dating you to make him jealous, and now obviously it's like progressed beyond that point.
Exactly. So this whole sequence was so interesting to me because we could tell throughout the movie that the way that Bear had felt for Nikki, that's how Sarah was feeling for Bear. Like we could see that Sarah really, really likes Bear. And throughout the movie, and this isn't something that we're just like, oh, well, this was a surprise to all of us. It was pretty clear early in the movie. When the movie began, Bear told Sarah first about when the cat had passed away, and when she was embracing him after that, like she hugged him for a very lengthy period of time, and you could see as the movie was progressing and the relationship was growing between Bear and Nikki, that Sarah looked very, like, of course she seemed shocked at the fact that it happened so fast, but you could also tell that she was annoyed, and as someone who has been in a situation to where you see your friend falling for someone that isn't you, I totally related to that element a lot. I think Sarah is actually a really underrated element of this movie. I was looking at a whole bunch of reviews and reactions, and I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about her character, and she has such a devastating arc in this movie, and leading up to why it gets devastating. She basically says to Bear, well, I was the person on your left and everything. Like, it's like, oh, like, something tender is about to happen, and then, just like that, cuts to an end. She meets her impending doom. Nikki smashes the car window, smashes her into a brick, and it is a very brutal sequence, probably the most brutal sequence in the entire film. And when the scene happened for me the first time, I mean, I was just sitting there, and I was laughing uncomfortably, and I was also terrified for my life. I was like, oh my God. Like, wow, they're going really far. And I want to bring up a really fun fact. I don't know if you learned about this little tidbit. When I saw the movie, a producer from the movie did a conversation afterwards, and he had brought up of how this movie avoided an NC-17 rating because they had to cut down 6 to 7 cuts of the head being smashed. And when I learned that after the movie, I was like, even with the R rating, it was very brutal and graphic. There was more of this, just insane stuff. So, how did you feel about this entire sequence between Bear and Sarah? But also, how do you feel about Sarah's arc in general? I would love to get your insight on that.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely more than implied when he has that first conversation with Nikki in the car and she's asking him about Sarah. Like, you definitely get the assumption that she knows that Sarah has feelings for him and she's kind of probing that. So yeah, that like didn't come as a surprise or anything. I think it's subtle enough there. We get the earlier scene of them talking about how she wants to go to art school and yeah, and she has this moment in the car where she's like, you need someone a little more chill, and he's like, someone like you. And so that all plays out, and it's sort of like, she is a good character to be a representation there, that like, Bear thinks that his issue of having an unreciprocated crush on Nikki is like the end of the world, and like she's dealing with that exact same thing like right next to him, and like he's too oblivious to notice or care or anything. And yeah, this moment, like, I get it, it's a big moment, it's a big thing. Not that this makes it bad or anything, but like, I totally saw it coming, which is not inherently bad, but like, Sarah's there framed with like this giant window right next to her, and it's like, that
it didn't come as a surprise, but it's still like, yeah, it's still like, it made me sad. I was like, I feel bad for Sarah.
And that's fine, and it goes for it with the gore and everything, and apparently it went for it even more. And I don't even understand what more could be. Like, her head gets completely caved in. She's just like an eyeball and some teeth at the end. So
Yeah.
I'm so curious what that looked like before. But it was like, yeah, you're like Bear is completely not handling this in any way. This was like inevitable to happen, and I don't know. It just kind of felt like, all right, the movie's gonna go for it here, but it's again, this is not. We're not at this point moving forward. We're not really like plumbing the depths of this concept anymore. We're not like dealing with like what does this mean for an unrequited relationship and having possession over someone. And it's just like at this point we just have to see how this plays out and how the body count is going to get. So it wasn't all that interesting to me. And there's I've seen a lot of people call this movie like it's a mean little movie. It's like kind of like I don't know necessarily that it. I mean, obviously people die, and that is like, it's not a gentle movie by any means, but like I almost wish that could have. I don't feel like we get any of the fallout of like Sarah. Like Sarah was this innocent bystander who is just completely killed in this brutal way. Like we don't get any of the after effects of any of the consequences there. We don't like see a reaction from her father. I thought when he opened the envelope about her art school decision, it says that she got in. I was like a sick little part of me was kind of hoping like she didn't get in and something in Bear was going to be like, oh, is it that bad then? If she didn't really have her future coming, like
man.
Something like that would have made the movie meaner. Like I needed Bear to like kick it into an extra gear here, where he is just like a passenger the entire movie. Like there's no decision, there's no reckoning. It's kind of just like it's gonna play out how it's gonna play out from here on out for me.
Interesting. That's a very interesting take. I would have been very fascinated if they went in that direction. Oh, damn, that's actually, as someone who loves the movie, that would have been the pretty cool turn if that happened. If she didn't get into the school and then he's just like, oh, okay, whatever.
Like I needed some sort of
wild.
I needed some sort of extra gear from him to like
I understand.
justify all of this,
I do want to bring up a very important line. After Nikki kills Sarah, she says, "This is what you wished for. You wished for this." Mm-hmm. So it's like at that rate, is that possessive Nikki, or is that Nikki? That's got to be possessive Nikki saying that. Like she knows that this is just something, right?
Yeah, I assume. And it's like it's totally clear that he's complicit in the entire endeavor the whole time. Like that's not even in question, but there's no like reaction to that. There's no like him reckoning with how complicit he is and either justifying it or rebelling against it until he like absolutely has to.
Yeah, and so, there's still a lot that happens, and we'll run through this quickly and everything, but Nikki
buries the body.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this is when he goes back to the shop to try to get some answers or get another wish.
Yeah, he goes back, and at first he can't find the one wish lilies. He's like, where are they and everything? And the guy's like, we don't sell that here. I'm just fucking with you. They're right here. I thought that moment was funny, personally. I don't know how you felt about it. I thought that was a funny moment, personally.
It was funny, and Bear's, like, covered in blood, and he's, like, freaking out and everything, and the guy's like, don't bring this energy in here, man. Like, this is,
That moment was too good. Don't bring this energy into here. What do I do? It's just, I don't know. I don't know. What do you do? It's just so funny. So then he goes into the car. He tries to break it, and he's unable to do so. So then
he can't get a second wish.
Yeah, can't get a second wish. It literally, like as it's called, one wish will, you only get one wish. So then he races over to Ian's house and tries to explain to him the situation of what happened. And Ian's like, this is complete bullshit. You're losing your mind. There's no way that this happened. So he's like, just break this and say that I wish that this wish wasn't true or it didn't happen and everything. And Ian's like, oh, well, I wished for $1 billion. Snap. And then $1 billion just falls down on the ground and everything. And we get the shot, and Bear he's like, what the fuck did you do? You killed us all, essentially.
Yeah. And this whole scene, like when he goes to Ian, and like, I get it. We're in the frantic, reaping what we sow portion of the movie. But even, and I maybe it's just because Indy's performance is so phenomenal, but something about like those two guys having a scene together where they're like just screaming back and forth and like not like, I don't know, there's something about the dialogue there and their acting there that like it kind of just didn't really work for me. I was like, okay, we're like either, you know, have speed this up and get to the conclusion, or it just kind of felt like let's be frantic and manic for, you know, the sake of it. And then the, you know, the $1 billion happens and like $1 billion falls from the ceiling, so it's obviously that the wish is true. And then I was just like a little confused on almost the mechanics of like how that scene ends and how we get into the next scene. There's like a moment where, you know, we see Bear like fall to his knees like, oh my god, you've done this, and now we are like, you know, I don't get to use that wish. And then we're just like cut to Bear at home now with Nikki, and Nikki has like tied up Sarah's body in like this weird, you know, sort of ritualistic thing. And then I'm like, why does Ian like knock on the door at some point like, Bear, it worked, I got $1 million? Like they were just together, he just saw that. Like that was just, some of the like mechanics there were a bit like sloppy to me. It didn't like confuse you or anything? I don't know, I didn't like,
I mean, it didn't confuse me. It's like, okay, I could clearly tell that like we jumped ahead a bit and everything. Well, also like, I mean, I guess you do wonder like how much time happened in between him leaving Nikki and then him going to the store and then him going from the store to Ian's house and then from Ian's house to back to his
place. We cut from him and Ian at Ian's and the money is falling, and then we cut to him arriving home with Nikki. It's a few minutes later, they're having a confrontation.
Yeah,
and
you
then
do want
Ian is at the door like, I got $1 billion, it worked.
You do also wonder how long it took for all the money to fall down. Like, I just want to know how long he just stand there and, like, he's like, all right, is it, no, okay.
He was just having a Scrooge McDuck moment and just, like, swimming through it, and then he was like, all right, let me go check on Bear and his killer girlfriend.
Yeah, so now we're really in the final stretch and everything. Like, this is where everything finally comes together. He comes home with another one-wish willow, planning to ask Nikki to reverse the wish. He sees the corpse, as you just said, Veronica, Sarah's corpse sitting in a chair. And Nikki appears and threatens to Bear and herself at gunpoint. Ian comes, oh, $1 billion. And he comes into the door, screams from the top of his lungs, gets shot in the head, and you're like, what the fuck? Everybody is going out. Holy shit. So then Bear runs into the bathroom, locks himself in, and he tries to kill himself, but he decides, no, I can't do that. So instead, he goes into the medicine cabinet, grabs the medicine that killed his cat, and he ends up taking it. He swallows all the pills. And then we get this really cool shot of where it zooms out, and then we're like, what just happened? Like, what is going on? Why did he just react this way? But it's revealed that Nikki broke the willow to make the wish that he loves her and everything. So now he's in a bit of a possessive state. So he comes out and, you know, they smile at one another, kind of mirroring the scene early on when they were at the bar and everything. They kiss each other. He ODs. He dies. And just as Nikki is about to shoot herself, she regains complete control of herself. She starts wailing upon everything that's around her, seeing Sarah's dead body, Ian's dead body, and now Bear's dead body. And then the movie ends. So how did you feel about these last 5 to 10 minutes? Do you feel that there could have been more? Do you think it was... Do you think there should have been more, or do you think that it all worked out in the end? Like, how did you feel about the way it wrapped up? Because I've talked to some people, and they felt that the resolution was a little too quick and a little abrupt. But I would love to know if you felt that way about these last few minutes.
I think, yeah, well, the other complicating thing is that he takes the pills, and then after like a minute or so, he also kind of like backs out of that. He like chickens out and needs to like tries to purge it from him, but obviously it wasn't enough to, and you know, he's still overcome and ODs and everything. But yeah, to me, like I said, from pretty much from Sarah's death, I think that the premise like ceases having anything to say really about relationships and possessiveness and everything. And I think it is more just, let's see how this plays out. And so, you know, it was kind of like, yeah, that was about what I figured. And, you know, it's the way that Ian was dispatched of really quickly was a bit just like, okay. And again, like that again, where like if we had seen any of the like real consequences of that, I mean, I obviously we get Nikki's reaction in those final seconds, and that's horrifying enough. But I don't think that it just is like we have these four characters. Obviously, this is not going to go well for most of them. And yeah, so I think that there's the it being reciprocated in the end based on the wish is like you get like just a taste of that before he dies, and yeah, I don't know. I just think it seemed at the point where I was like, all right, I'm not sure that I'm fully on board with everything happening here. I was like, this is about how I would expect and want it to wrap up, and I kind of I like that it doesn't overstay its welcome, though. Like I said, it maybe would have been a little more powerful to get some of that reaction of the fallout in some way. So yeah, I don't know. I was fine with it. It's effective. It's like that last moment from Nikki, where another great moment from Indy, where you see her snap out of that demon sort of thing and just be regular Nikki again, completely horrified by everything that's around her. Like that's a strong note to end on. So I wouldn't change that. But
right.
Yeah, I think that it played out, and I wasn't necessarily curious at that point exactly how it was going to play out. And I don't think that the conclusion has much to say about the premise, beyond he's this woman is possessed for his own desire, and I don't know that the deaths and how everything wraps up really has touches on that much.
Right. Totally. Well, we broke down the whole movie, and I feel like there's still so much to talk about, but we don't want to be here for 3 hours, so we'll just quickly go through some other things and everything. What do we talk about next? Do we talk about the directing? Do we talk about the performances? Do we talk about why Bear is the villain? Like, what do we talk about now? Because there's so much to still brush upon and everything, even though we just broke down the entire movie from top to bottom.
Yeah, like I said at the top, I think that I'm excited by Curry Barker as a director. I think that there were a lot of moments and setups here that are really effective, and so I think the script is more of the problem here. I think that it kicks off with a really cool concept and just doesn't play it out in a way that's all that interesting to me.
Yeah.
I do think that the thing that I'll say is kind of my final thought. I do think it's a apt analogy. The thing that I was thinking about, I think it was mostly the scene when I mentioned it before, that she contorts her face and says like, "How's this?" for trying to just completely please him moment to moment. I think it's kind of an interesting metaphor for something like people falling in love with AI chatbots, like happens more and more today, and the idea of just wanting the amalgamation of love or of a relationship, and just getting that feeling rather than actually engaging with a person who is a real and fully realized person, and just wanting to possess them for your own purposes. And yeah, it's you said, can we talk about if Bear's the villain? Like it. Yes, initially he is definitely like not privy to the fact that she is possessed by this wish and that it actually worked, like, of course. So I don't know necessarily that he has any major missteps on like that first night when he's just like, okay, I guess her feelings for me are real, and this is I've gotten everything that I wanted. But yeah, obviously I think that it's so clear that he is not concerned with, and that's where I was getting at in the beginning with like, I don't know that they know each other all that well. I don't know that he doesn't necessarily have a crush on her as a person. Like he has a crush on the idea of her, on the cool girl who shows up at work and teases Ian at the bar nights, and like is he has no desire to actually get at her interiority.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess that's there. I kind of just wish that like Bear is just an underwhelming character for me. I just don't feel like we're getting enough of what this is actually meaning to him, if he's reckoning with that all, and if he's not, it's like he's just like kind of stupid at times. Like then it's just kind of like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish that was anywhere near as sharp as Indy's performances, where you can see all of these things playing out even if you don't quite understand it yet. Like you get that everything that she's going through, even as this person who is like not even a real person, like she is possessed. So yeah,
and there's been this interview that recently has been surfacing with Curry Barker, to where he explicitly addresses that Nikki is a victim, and that's how she was written out to be. And I think the movie makes that pretty clear and everything. I know that some people haven't been thinking that, but when I first saw the movie, it was very apparent to me that that was the case and everything. And I can understand some people being a little weary about how that's all depicted and everything, and with Bear not exactly being the most well fleshed out and maybe the most engrossing character and everything. I guess that what I was so taken aback by him was that, you could tell that he obviously recognized the situation that he put himself in was a terrible situation, and that even he wasn't willing to admit that, oh my God, I did a terrible thing, and I could save this girl. I could literally put her out of her misery for being stuck in this position. But then it's like, oh, she clearly doesn't want to be with me. She just wants to end herself because she's stuck with me and doesn't have any common sense in that moment. So I can understand your complaints with that and everything, but I I do agree. I do prefer Curry's direction over his screenplay. Again, this is a very complex screenplay to where you have to ride a fine line between being cringy and terrifying and depressing and everything. And I feel like this is something that we've seen in a lot of horror films as of late, especially ones that are done by, people who primarily come from a comedy background, where they try to balance all these different tones. I think it's very effective here, but I can understand it not being everyone's cup of tea. And it is interesting, too, that we're now in a time where a lot of the horror films that we're getting are helmed by people who started out on YouTube, and now they're making their way into the feature film route. And it seems like horror is like the go-to to kind of launch your name into the stratosphere of film world.
Yeah, I mean it's usually a lower budget option, and it's something that plays well. I'm for all my reservations with this movie, like I hope it does really really well at the box office, because this is an original.
It's already been
movie
doing really well. The movie cost
Yeah.
less than $1 million, and I believe it's
Yeah.
already made like its budget back. Well, I think it made its
sure,
budget back when Focus Features picked it up out of TIFF and everything. So I think it's very inspiring that this guy, and also it's important to point out this. Curry Barker is 26 years old. What the fuck are we doing with our lives? Sitting on here babbling on about his movie while he's out there. He literally just made a movie with Aaron Paul and Bryce Dallas Howard, and now he's about to make Texas Chainsaw Massacre with A24. And it's like, must be nice, buddy, while we're in the real world doing very boring, mundane jobs and everything. Must be nice. But I'm excited to see more from him as a storyteller. I can't wait to see his next film, and then of course what he does with Texas Chainsaw. And then I think we should end off by talking about the performances, because we have obviously glazed about Indy Navarrete, and I'm going to continue saying this. This is one of my favorite performances of the entire year. Everything that she does with her face, her body, her voice, I am genuinely blown away by this. And it amazes me, too, that in interviews, there was no CGI done with her performance. Everything was all natural, and I don't understand how she pulled it off. I have no idea how anyone could do the things that she was able to do in this film, and it established herself as an actor that hopefully gets way more opportunities, not just in the horror realm, but I would love to see her in stuff outside the horror genre. And I think that this movie is going to establish her as one of the better up-and-coming scream queens. Like, this movie alone, if this is the only horror movie that she does for the time being, and then she ends up doing like a comedy or whatever, I would love to see her flex her muscles and do anything else, because she has to ride a fine line in this movie where she is very terrifying and very sad, but she's also really funny. Like, there's a lot of things that she does here that make me go, I would love to see her in the comedy. I would love to see her in the drama. I would love to see her do anything that she wants. And, a lot of people online have been playing around with the idea, could this be a performance that gets awards consideration? I don't entirely buy into that narrative. Then again, I didn't buy into the whole Amy Madigan getting nominated for Weapons, and then look what happened. She ended up winning an Oscar. Now, granted, she's obviously a much more established actor than Indy is, but with how the Academy and all these other outlets and organizations have been embracing horror over the last few years, there could be a possibility to where there's a lot of passion with her performance, and there has been such a high level of praise that maybe we could see her go in the distance again, some sort of recognition from somewhere, maybe not the Oscars, but somewhere. And I do think that, depending on how this year plays out, maybe that could happen. But I'm going to be realistic and say that it likely won't happen. But if it were up to me, I would give her the fucking award, personally. I think she is that good in this movie.
Yeah, for sure. No, echo all of that. It reminds me most of Lily Rose Depp's performance in Nosferatu.
Yeah.
With a lot of that sort of like, almost exorcist level of contorting her face and body, and it's a very physical performance. Yeah, voice, body, face, everything is like fully engaged here, and she's the reason to see this movie. Like for me, I like I said, I praise the direction. I think it has really really solid moments. But yeah, if you're a horror fan or an acting fan at all, like I think that like Indy, this is her movie for sure.
Yeah, and I think that when the year wraps up and you see people doing lists of like their favorite performances, horror or non-horror, I feel like this is going to be mentioned by a lot of people, because even people who don't like this movie at all, like there are people who like this movie less than you, even they are willing to recognize that her performance is just out of this world good.
Yeah, for sure.
And then everyone else did a good job too, I think. I thought everyone else did a good job.
Yeah, everyone else was fine.
You thought they were just fine? I mean, yeah, compared to her, I mean, obviously, like, it's hard to match what she was able to bring. But I liked all of them to where I'm excited to see more from each of them and everything. Megan Lawless as Sarah, particularly excited to see more from her. I thought her performance was very lovely, personally. I really liked her a lot. She was honestly my second favorite performance behind Indy. I thought she did a really wonderful job. And Michael Johnson, who plays Bear, yeah, there were some moments where I'm like, okay. But I thought his performance was pretty effective. And then Cooper Tomlinson, is that his name? Mm-hmm. He was probably my least favorite of the bunch because, again, like, he reminded me a lot of the frat boy bros that I know in my life that I cannot stand at all. And if you're a frat boy listening to this pod, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm so sorry. But I've not had great experiences with them in my past. But they were all good and everything, and I'm excited to see more from each of them. And then, yeah, Andy Richter, for his small time on screen, what a delightful presence. Just always a great presence and everything. Is there anything that you want to say before we wrap up and give our ratings?
No, I was just going to say, for Cooper Tomlinson, he's like a frequent collaborator with Curry Barker. And so I watched Milk and Cereal, and I actually kind of preferred him in that. That's more of a twisty sort of found footage thing. But yeah, I think that he kind of had a little bit more to do than that. He was a bit one note here.
And Cooper will be in Curry's next film, like the film that they've already shot and everything. He'll be in that one. And he co-wrote that one with Curry, so I'm really interested to see how that's going to fare.
Yeah. Megan Lawless, very good in this. Michael Johnston, I think, like I said, was a little underwhelmed, but I think that's more on the writing
character
than on his performance.
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and give my rating. This was a 3.5 star for me, which is still pretty good, but Brian, you can finish us off with your rating for this one.
It is a very good rating. There is still a part of me that wishes that you hadn't told me the rating ahead of time, because it would have been fun to be surprised, because like, there have been times where we've recorded these pods and I have no idea where you land on a movie, and then when we record, I'm like, oh, okay. But since I knew pretty much what you thought of the movie ahead of time, it made for a really fun conversation.
It does, yeah. It's fun when we don't agree for once.
Exactly. And it wasn't like a massive disagreement. It wasn't like if you had hated this movie, that would have made for like a 5-hour long pod. Speaking of 5, this is a 5-star for me.
Well done.
I really loved this movie more than I ever could have imagined. Again, I like horror movies. I don't want people to think that I hate horror. I'm just very picky with the horror that resonates with me, and this really worked for me on every sense of the word. And this conversation definitely opened me up to a different perspective, to where when I eventually watch it again, I'll definitely be looking at it with a different lens to see things that I might not have picked up on that Veronica brought up. So this made for a really conversation. 5 stars for me for Obsession, 3.5 for Veronica, and then both of us gave Is God Is 4 stars. So, what an episode! Oh my God.
Yeah.
Quite
it's a good weekend to go to the movies for horror fans.
Exactly. Quite a double billing. Quite a bunch of movies. Just very fascinating stuff. Just made for quite a conversation. And with that is a wrap on today's episode of Some Like It Real. Thank you all for joining us. If you're interested in following along our journey, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Brian Setfield.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Vero Albarella, and on Letterboxd at Alba_real_A.
And you can find the show on all socials at Some Like It Real, as well as on YouTube at Some Like It Real. Be sure to subscribe and share it around, and tune in every Monday and Thursday for a new episode of Some Like It Real on podcast platforms.
We'll see you next time.